trustees go through and say that we're present, and we have been following the protocols that were originally laid out to us when we started these Zoom meetings, that we would just announce ourselves and say if anyone is in the room with us. We know it's a public meeting, but just so people are aware. So I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:03. And then I will just say that Deborah Koval is present and no one is with me. Janet?
Janet Krupp, I am present and there is no one with me.
And Karen?
Karen Freed, I'm present and no one is with me.
Janice?
Janice Tibbetts, I'm present and there's no one with me.
And Sohini?
Oh,
Sorry.
there you go.
Yeah,
Sohini Gupta present and no one is in the room with me.
Okay. And again, you know, it is a public meeting. We just are following the protocol as we were understood it. So if you would please join me, we will rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'd like to welcome Jason and Max. Thank you for joining us. Before we move on to our appointments, I did ask Yvette to put on our agenda a moment of silence in honor of Representative Hinch, who passed away, I believe it was December 9th, is that correct, or 7th? I was just reading his obituary before we came on here. So many, many years of service to the people of Merrimack and the state of New Hampshire in the House of Representatives. And Yvette made me aware that he was also chair of the Library Building Development and Marketing Committee, which is different from the Merrimack Public Library Development Fund. And that was from 2008 to 2010. And I'd just like to offer my condolences to his family. It's a loss for our community. So if you would just join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. If anyone else has anything they would like to share about Representative Hinch, this would be a wonderful time if you have anything that you would like to say. I know people have spoken very highly of him and everything I've been reading, so. Okay, so with that, I guess we will move. Oh, please, Janice, go ahead.
There's actually someone else in my house with me at the moment.
That's totally fine. It's okay. It's just, you know, these things happen. People come in and out. It's just how we're beginning. No problem. So we are really thrilled to have Jason back with us. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jason. This is Jason Lacombe. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Close enough. Yeah.
Oh, come on. No, I want to do it correctly. Please correct me.
Yep.
Lacombe. Okay, thank you. So thank you for joining us to give us an update on how things are going. So.
Oh, sure. Well, thanks for having me. So in an effort to manage expectations, we're still digging into this project. So I have no sketches or no designs to show you tonight. But I did get a chance to spend time with Yvette last week. And good night, sweetie. Say hi to everybody. Sorry. one down. So
it's the best part of Zoom is seeing everybody's children and their pets. So please, that's fine.
And I'm part books and part toys, and yeah.
Lovely.
So my kids are doing remote school, so we've got desks all around. So I did get a chance to spend some time with Yvette and go through the building again on a more personal level, and went back through and refreshed my memory on some of the past documents, really your mission statement. So I think tonight, if we could take a few minutes, what I'd really like to do is sort of ask some more probing questions so I can better understand where you're at in terms of sensibilities for the project, because you've been thinking about this for a long time, and where sort of we want to go, sort of understand you on a deeper level. I'm not that I want to get all touchy-feely about it, but that's sort of where we're at. One of the things that continues to stick out in my mind is in a lot of your documents, you talk about, I forget how you phrase it, but really taking care of the historic building, sort of being good stewards to that building. And I'd like to hear a little more from you about what does that really mean? What does that mean to you, and sort of where are you at? Because part of our work is to consider putting the library on other sites. And I think there's a real philosophical question about does that fall in line with that being a good steward? And I think there's sort of other questions that fall into that. So if you're willing, I'd love to hear more about what you think about that aspect of it, because that feels really important to this project. And I'm not going to call names.
I will. Well, I don't know if if you would like to speak to that, that would be wonderful. If not, I couldn't say some things, but I'd love to hear your perspective, since you are living there, right? You're in the building. You're hearing what people are saying about it. So
I'm living here and there's no one with me. I don't think there's anyone with me.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote that.
Right.
I introduced that phrase to Merrimack in our strategic plan.
Yes.
And I think, it makes sense for me to say that, because this is a town building, and in the same way that we're stewards of the collection in the building, we're stewards of the building as well. We have it under our care. Max and I here, this board, for the time that we are allowed to be here. And I think, my father-in-law, when we used to go camping with him, would say, you carry in, carry out. You leave a spot better than you found it. And I think the same is true for this library. I think we leave the community better than we found it when we came here. I think I put the words, or a goal that we are stewards of the building, as a response to criticism that previous administration, previous boards had been receiving because of perceived lack of care of the building.
Okay.
And I wanted to make sure that we could demonstrate that we could not only take care of it, but we could improve upon it. Later, the board's going to talk about, improving our shelving and updating our shelving and things like that. We're always thinking about that. We're always thinking about, or we should always be thinking about, how can I do this better? And we think about that in the service. We think about that, through every aspect of library work.
Okay. How does the rest of the board feel?
yeah, would anybody else like to add something to that? Karen, please.
Well, since we're talking about the historical nature of the building and trying to maintain it, I've been around, and some of us have also been around when the library building was perceived as needing serious attention. Some 15 odd years ago, was it? Something like that. But
Okay.
what my concern is, the reaction of the town, that's always in the back of my mind, about wanting to present something that maintains the historical aspects of the library and where it is in a positive way, so that we can ensure that people will look at it as a town asset rather than any other way. And
Okay.
that's my concern for now. I'm hoping to get more original ideas, more out of the box ideas as I get more comfortable with exploring
Okay.
this aspect of how the library world is changing and
Okay.
how this library world is changing.
Thank you, Karen. Would anyone else like to add anything to that? Well, I will say that I think, the location is lovely and people love the building, the original part of the building, but I don't think that we are necessarily saying that this is where a library should be forever and ever. And that's one of the things that we want, is to hear what our options are, what would
Sure.
be best for the future, that we're really thinking in a broader perspective, and that we consider this as an option. I don't know that in past building considerations of new buildings or renovations or modifications, that necessarily it's been seriously explored what could possibly happen on this site. So
Okay.
I think, and Yvette and everybody else who's been here longer than me, please correct me if I'm wrong in that. But I think, one of our goals is to be not just good stewards of the building, but good in our positions, and making sure that we're investigating all the options so that we really understand before we move forward any decision we make, and have taken everything into consideration. So,
Sure.
there's that. So I
Yep.
don't know that necessarily has to go with being a good steward, but I think just some perspective that the older part of the building is lovely, but it shouldn't be like that's exactly what we want to do is stay there. It's just, that should be one of the things that we consider as we're moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah. Does
I
anybody
have a
else have anything?
follow-up question.
Okay, please,
But
please.
no, I'd like to hear comments. No,
Uh-huh.
I don't
Go
want
ahead.
to, well, it could turn into one of those situations where this wonderful historic building, to be cliche, becomes the tail wagging the dog. And I
Mhm.
guess what I'm trying to sense is that a scenario that we could be heading into? Are you okay with that? Is that something you want to embrace, or is there sort of a preconceived idea about what it means to respect the existing building? And really, we're talking about the original library, but I think in terms of stewardship, and you mentioned it, you have a responsibility to steward the entire building, understanding there are some issues with the newer section that are less than desirable. And it's sort of, what's your sense of that small original library sort of driving bigger decisions on the design? Anyone have any thoughts on that?
Well, as far as I don't know, we don't even know which site we're thinking about. Like, I think that,
Okay.
from my perspective, being good steward doesn't mean that we say forever and ever, this is where we have to be, but
Okay.
we are taking care of the building. We are making sure that, like Yvette said, if after all this process is done, it doesn't seem like a viable alternative for the future of the library building, then I think we have to be realistic about that also. And I certainly don't want to get into that situation, and maybe other people on the board feel differently, where we are saying we must stay here. That's why we hired you. We want to see see what the other perspectives are. Like, this is good. Here's the pros and cons of this site. That we kind of look
Okay.
at everything in the bigger picture of the town and the future and that sort of thing. So,
Okay.
would anybody else like to jump on in? Janice,
Yeah,
Sohini,
actually,
please. Thank you. Thank you.
actually, Deb, I'm going to piggyback on what you said, because I think historically the site, or historically the building, the original building, is on a great site, and everybody loves that part of the building. As what was mentioned before, yes, there are issues with other parts of the building, but I think we've talked about three or four different sites. I mean, we've talked about many different sites, and they all have pros and cons. So it's just trying to balance the town, just balance those pros and cons of each site to really get a feel for how we would want to move forward.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're all reaffirming everything that we said we were going to do, that we were hired to do. But it's always a question and a concern, because when we look at other options, the first con is you're abandoning a historic building that you said you were going to be stewards of. So that's a question that we need to figure out how to resolve. So we want to think about that. And two, you're abandoning 12,000 square feet of usable space ish. So, you know, in any of those options, those are big considerations, and I just want to make sure that we're going into this sort of eyes wide open. That's all. So the other piece that dovetails with this that I've seen and you've mentioned is the perceived nature of the location of the library, and this being the town center. And Merrimack really feels like it might have a couple of centers. So, and it may be premature because I don't have a really good sense of where the other alternative sites are that we're looking at. So Paul Macaulay's getting me some of that GIS information, which I think came in just a couple hours ago. But what's the sense in terms of looking at the design in terms of this location and reinforcing that town center? Is this really a town center? Is that sort of a generally accepted notion? Or am I off base on that?
I think it depends who you talk to.
Okay.
How
How about you all?
Well, I actually represent the town center committee.
Okay.
And so there is a designated town center
Okay.
that exists in Merrimack. And it is, the library is almost exactly in the middle of it, in the southern middle, but.
Okay.
And
That's good to know.
the schools, the police station, down to Fraser Square, down to the south, and up to beyond Twin Bridge Road, up by the shopping center. But what I was going to say, what I was going to say personally about being a part of town center, the big thing is that we have schools. We have an elementary school, we have a middle school, and we have a high school, all within reasonable walking distance. And then just a little way up the road, there's a middle school as well. So.
Okay. So in terms of this current location,
it's pretty central.
It's central. It's walkable, but is it walked? You might get some.
Right.
It is.
No, I understand. It's not really. People don't really walk it, and I don't.
Okay.
But also the other locations that I think that you'll see are within the parameters of what Karen just mentioned. So they're all sort of in that general area. But I also think that, you know, maybe when you have a new library, you are creating the center, you know, like just because we don't view things as, I mean, that's the center, let's give them something to walk to, right? We want to, the more development and the more that sidewalks are put in. I think it's a process that the town is going through right now. I know sidewalks, right, Karen? That was something that is discussed.
Yes. Woodbury's going to get sidewalks.
Yep, and making more, they're really putting a focus on making it more walkable. So I don't think just because it's not being walked right now, we should discount that as what, I think that's what we want in the future, is to have a more walkable area. So in anything that we do,
regardless of site location. Promoting walkability, multi-mode transportation is going to be really important, right? So some of those connections. Everyone thinks about the car. You know, it's all about parking and bathrooms, right? But in everything that we do, particularly when we get into town centers, we want to think about bikes and strollers and walking and, you know, okay. Is this going okay? Am I quizzing you too much? I know you've been thinking about this a lot. So the other thing from Janella's report, it talks about potentially being part of a broader community center. And that means a lot of different things in a lot of different communities. In some, it's just a big meeting room, which we do in most of our library projects. Other communities, it takes on a more intensive role. What's some sense of that? Is that a legitimate direction that this project could go in, that we should think about closer? And what does that really mean in terms of community center?
Eva, is that something you would like to speak to? Because I really don't have an opinion on that, other than to think that we need to look at that as part of the strategic plan moving forward. But Eva, do you have something on that?
There have been some discussions among stakeholders in the library, not on the trustee board. But when a while back, the Trustees Development Fund Committee and Friends group got together and they were brainstorming ideas for the future of the library. And one person in particular really was pushing for like a community center with, you know, athletic facilities and a library as part of that larger complex. There's pros and cons to that in terms of, you know, quiet, but they had visited a town elsewhere and got really excited about the success of this library in a large community center. You know, in my experience, when adults start talking about community centers, they would like to have teens come over and, you know, hang out, and teens don't really want to do that. So, you know, I think, in my experience, the library is a destination, you know, and the library has always been a destination in other systems that I've worked in where, you know, my director in Indiana would look at a site and say, we can revive this shopping center by putting a freestanding library branch here, and that will be the anchor, and it will revive this shopping center, you know, for this neighborhood. And it did, you know, it would. And so he saw libraries as the destination in itself. So, you know, I don't think we've talked about a community center in a long time, in a couple of years.
Okay. So that is more highlighting a potentiality, but not really something that we want to incorporate in any serious way, other than, you know, some decent meeting rooms, study rooms, and
Sure. I mean, if we have
and maybe a cool
center,
teen hangout.
we have a cool teen hangout already. We want a bigger one with a door. But you know, I think if you have the cost of a library plus you have the cost of this other stuff, we haven't talked to Parks and Rec to see what they want. We haven't talked to the board of the O'Leary Center to see what their needs might be. You know, and the other agencies and organizations in town that might want to buy into a community center. You know, when we did the strategic plan a couple of years ago, they were saying, wow, we should have a theater, like, you know, the Palace, like an arts center theater in Merrimack. And it's like, okay, who wants to run that? You know, they have one in Keene, but that was a building and they kind of built this nice atrium and connected everything together. But I don't know if that is too much work. We want a library. I don't know if that's too much work. So,
Well, part of me feels like you want to focus on your specific mission, but that's my own personal opinion, and just what, you know, do one thing and do it really well. And library services, that's different than running theaters and community centers. And it's not that they can't be associated and, you know, sort of work together in unison, but they're very different in terms of their operations. So those were the big things that jumped out at me as we start, you know, looking into your building. The only other thing that I really wanted to press the group on is some visuals. Like I said, we haven't drawn anything yet, but somebody sort of alluded to the idea that love the historic, but not necessarily the addition. With the 70, was it 76, 79?
79.
Sorry, 79, yeah, I should know that. I'll learn that. So 1925, great. 1979, yeah. And Yvette, you and I talked about this. What's the aesthetic, or what's the issues? What are the issues that people have? And let's just talk about that a little bit in a bigger sense before we start thinking about how we start modifying this building to make it work better. And Yvette, I've got your opinions already, but feel free, jump in. And if I could share my screen, if you are willing. Oh, host disabled participant screen sharing.
I'll make you the host. Woo. Okay. You are now the host.
Oh boy, the power. All right. So everyone see my screen? There you
Yes.
are.
Yes.
Okay. So I pulled some street views. All right. So this is how Google sees you from last year. Can everyone see this street view?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we can see the lovely, well-scaled, a little close to the road, but I understand how that happened. The road wasn't necessarily there when they built the building. And this, you can see why people love it. It has a nice scale. It's very approachable. It's welcoming. Everything that you want in terms of that character. And then you get this. And, you know, there's some really important pieces for how buildings relate to the street front, relate to people. And while I would never defend this, I can understand how it ended up that way. You know, blank wall it basically turns its back to a very busy, dare I say, less than pedestrian friendly road. And I guess I'd like to hear what you think about that. And
Well,
what
I
are
was
the
just gonna
opportunities on the road?
I was just going to say, to me, it's like they're two different buildings put together, right? It does not
Yeah.
look like one continuous building. The
Okay.
roof lines are off. You have the beautiful hipped roof on the original building, and then this incredibly flat roof, which I don't understand a flat roof at all. You're just asking for trouble. And then the brick is such a different color. You know, it doesn't seem like they're the same building at all.
Okay.
There's no continuity. And this is very people friendly. This does not feel people friendly at all. It just feels very industrial. Yeah.
The historic or the 79?
The 79 is
79.
just, you know, it's not as inviting. obviously, as
Okay.
this feels very like you want to walk up those stairs and go in. And looking at it from this, it just looks even better than I remember it, right? Like this looks better, like it looks
Okay.
great. So to me, that's the part, is that they're two different buildings, that there's no continuity.
Okay.
Imagine if that brick section, the 79 section, actually was the golden colored stone of the original, and
Mm-hmm.
had the same kind of roof line. Like it would be a completely different experience viewing it.
Yep.
It wouldn't take care of the problems that are inside that, we have from this, but
Correct.
aesthetically it would feel very different.
Okay.
Does anybody
Even
else
if
want
it
to?
still had no windows?
Oh, well, the windows are an issue too, right? Because we do like natural light. So, but that's part
Yes.
of it. That's another reason why it doesn't feel like the same building, because the first building, the original, has windows and it has some of those beautiful features. And this one
Right.
has no windows. So,
Okay.
and the windows it does have are a completely different style than the windows on the other building. So,
Yes.
Janice, did you want to say something?
I wanted to say that in my hometown, this rendering almost looks like our original library, which was in a previously used building, and then our new library looks more like this older library version. So it's almost a flip for me. And when I first saw this building, I thought the brick was quote unquote the older version of the building. So it was interesting to me to find out it wasn't, but I agree with Deborah. I think they look like two separate buildings. I had wondered why the brick at least wasn't the same color. I think I understand why there's no windows on that side, I think, because of the way the road is, and it isn't
Right.
pedestrian friendly. You can kind of
Yep.
see why that happened that way.
Yep.
Um,
Am I wrong in saying that this road is not pedestrian friendly?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay. Please tell me if you think I'm wrong. That's part of the conversation. I'm trying to understand, the
I don't think
challenges and issues.
I don't think you're wrong, but I think people would walk it. Like I can see, oh, you parked at Twin Bridges and you take your kids to the playground for a little bit. And then if it was a little bit more inviting, you would walk over to the library and grab some books and maybe walk down to Buckley's. Like I don't think it's impossible to envision this as some place that people would walk to. It just isn't really what we do now, right? It's not
Okay.
friendly, but
Well,
wouldn't it be lovely if it was?
It's not practical because you can't use that entrance on the DW.
Right.
Because where am I gonna park?
This entrance.
Yes,
Right.
because
Right.
it doesn't make any sense. It's not close to anything.
See,
Okay.
I don't envision this as being the front of the building.
Mhm.
I envision this being the back of the building. The front
Good
of
point.
the,
It's
That's
clearly
right, Karen.
that was intended to be.
the front of the building?
No, this was intended to be the back of the building.
Right,
This,
right.
yeah,
And-
there is no doubt.
And so all the walkability is up Babusick Lake Road. I don't even concern myself about Daniel Webster Highway being walkable because it's not. There are some sidewalks, but it's still kind of scary.
Okay.
It's only teenagers in summer, they take their bikes and go really fast on those pavements. If
Okay.
they are daring themselves just to go through the Daniel Webster Highway. So it's the
Okay.
teenagers in summer because they come down to the gas station to get supplies, kind of. So
Okay. What about
Karen-
skateboarders too?
Yeah.
Skateboarders?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But Karen, to your point, when I come to the library to get some books, if I go home up Babusick Lake Road, I do see people out walking their dogs and walking along Babusick Lake Road. So
Yeah.
it's not inconceivable that people would walk in that direction down to the library.
Right.
So,
That's true.
That road is slower. It's less heavily trafficked. It's only two lanes. So to me, it lends itself more as something that people would be comfortable walking on, whereas this feels very urban and uninviting.
Right.
It just doesn't feel comfortable.
And the schools are right off of Babusick Lake Road too. So
Right.
when I see kids on Babusick Lake Road. They very rarely go on the highway. on Daniel
Yeah.
Webster. They can go across to the Twin Bridges Park or something like that, but they don't
has a-
walk along the,
How about this view?
yeah,
This view entirely obscures the historic.
yep.
Anyone have any thoughts about this?
It's got the sign.
Yeah,
It's got the sign.
the
If you-
sign came later. I think it came a few years ago, that big.
That's Chris Majalian. That's from September of 2019.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's Chris
Yep.
Majalian's flag.
Yeah,
That
you don't
came-
even know it's the library coming from this
Yes.
direction.
It
No.
looks like it could be almost any building. It looks like it looks like it could be an office building.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And then we've got the parking, right?
Mhm.
How many cars? I was gonna count cars on Google. How many parking spaces do you currently have? Anyone know that number?
Oh. No,
Okay. I'll count. Don't worry about it. But you got to be somewhere in around 40 cars, 35, 40 cars.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess the first question is understanding, we've got internal issues and we've got some space issues in terms of, creating meeting rooms and addressing, study space and all those practical needs, and dealing with acoustic isolation where people can be comfortable in the library.
Mhm.
What's everyone's sense about trying to make this more of a front? Is that something that we think is a good idea? I don't know how to solve it, and I don't know if it would make sense or be practical. I'm just asking sort of as a philosophical, how does the building engage the street? And when I look at this view, this building is clearly saying, just drive past me, don't worry, don't look at me, right? It doesn't say, hey, stop in and check out a book. It doesn't say that there's vitality and activity going on. And, as uninviting as this road can seem, you've got a great opportunity to really show what's going on in the library. And what do you think about that?
You mean like it's on a corner and it's in the town
It's on a corner,
center?
it's on a main
Yeah.
highway. I
Main
mean,
highway,
standing
yeah.
right here, if this was, if we started cutting holes and sort of turning this shell of a building into Swiss cheese, and really getting some glazing in there, I could absolutely see this being a billboard for a children's program or an adult program, and really have some activity and some vitality inside the building being shown. You've got a giant billboard. I mean, you're using it as a billboard, but let's make it a real one. Is that a thought, or am I just going way off to the side?
I think
It's
you
not
are thinking outside the box that we need. So
Okay. I'm just
um,
asking questions at this point.
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
don't know.
It doesn't address space issues, and that's the thing. Light would be good. It would be
Light
nice
would be
to
good.
have light.
Daylight, I assume you're referring to. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, I think that we're really not sure. That I would just
Okay.
say we're open to your ideas and thoughts.
I'm going to write that. We're really not sure.
I
I'll quote
think
you on that.
that's the most honest answer I have for you. We're really
That's
not
fine.
sure.
Yeah. Well, it could feel like we're wheel spinning, but it's really important, because if we want to be genuine about this, I really need to understand where you think the library is in terms of its relationship to the community. And that was something that I saw that you were struggling with through the UNH survey, is that communication and communication with the community to really show how vital you are and how you are an important town entity and aspect. And all the building is a shell for the activity in it. And I think there's sort of two modes of that communication. And maybe I'm just getting too philosophical about it.
Jason, I think, I have talked to probably Kyle and Tim about what if we cut into the parking lot and make the entrance here, like just turn right. And it's like, nope, it's too close to the stoplight.
That'd be a really hard entrance to do.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah.
But I've also heard maybe in the past an idea to put a similar looking addition, similar in look for the Lowell, from the Lowell building on this end to kind of bookend the 79 edition. I mean, I don't know if that's making a silk purse out of a sow's ear. I think you can make a sow's ear purse out of a sow's ear, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think as the librarian, libraries are the same stature as churches and beautiful pieces of art and amazing, wonderful, vistas of nature. I think that is what the library is. And, without building a Cadillac and the Taj Mahal, how can we, give Merrimack, the residents we serve and that we love and appreciate, why can't we give them something beautiful? Why can't we give them something that resonates with this need in their souls? When the criticism back in the UNH study, that was 2013. And a couple of weeks ago, last month, Deb and I were talking and presenting to the town council, and they were full of a lot of praise and appreciation for what we've been doing, especially during the closure. When we reopened, a patron was standing outside screaming because she realized she could come in the building again. So I think, certainly, and Max can attest to this, we are experiencing expressions of appreciation, really deep, heartfelt appreciation from our patrons, and how vital our existence is to them and their lives. It's almost like, well, my husband's getting some white hair and I still love him, even though he's not as cute as no, he's adorable. But you kind of forgive.
Watch us white hair and balding guys, please. Easy
He's
on
one
us.
of them too. But I think some people you kind of forgive the this kind of eyesore, because we try and make it magical on the inside. And we've tried, with the reader board sign there and the banners and plantings and all the flowers and colored canopies, we are trying to make it look like something is happening at the building so people can come in.
Can I also say to Yvette's point about that, Jason, you asked about the town center, but isn't the town center, like, philosophically the place that you go to feel community, to be around people, to engage? And because we maybe don't have a downtown like that, I think for a lot of us, the library takes on that role, as well as some of the wonderful local businesses nearby, that, like, we see people from the community when we go in and out. That's sort of our feeling of community in our town center. There's something to be said for that, and the environment that the library has created inside and the people who work there. And I think it would be lovely if that was reflected on the outside of the building as well. So
That's a good one. I like that.
Janice, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say, I sometimes see the addition as cold. The color, the shape. I agree that on the inside, the staff and have done a fabulous job making the inside of the library welcoming. But when I see the outside, I just feel kind of disengaged, not attached.
Okay.
If I didn't know all this good stuff was inside, I might not approach that building.
Yeah.
And I think also to another point, and I know that we're taking up a lot of your time, but
No, that's okay. This is good.
you know, it's not just that we want to do all of the wonderful things that Yvette mentioned. It's that we are realistic about some of the issues that we have had in this building, that there are some problems with the current building, and we are doing our best, and Yvette is doing her best and to keep the building going. But there are concerns with HVAC, and we've had leaks. You know, there are things that are real problems, and we need to be taking those seriously when we're looking at what the future for the building holds. So
Yeah.
those are all just things we need to take into consideration. So,
Okay.
anyone have anything else they'd like to share?
Those were I asked all my deep probing questions that we've been struggling with or
Well, and I
thinking
think these,
about.
yeah, it gives us some things to think about too. So thank you for those.
Yeah. Well, there's one of the tensions in what we do is there's the technical issue of we just need more square footage and more space, right? And we need daylight, and well, there's innumerable ways you can do that. But one of the challenges with libraries is there really is a genuine design aspect, that because they are buildings that reflect community values and they reflect that engagement, and it's different in every town. It's not right for me to presume I know exactly what this library visually and architecturally needs to do. We can solve the square footage problems and book counts and all that stuff. I don't worry too much about that, but this is a real design problem, because you've got the constraints of the site, you've got the activity of the road, you've got the challenges or the tensions that I at least perceive in town, where you know, Merrimack is a large town, 18 or so thousand residents.
Oh,
What's
more,
that?
more.
27.
Is it more?
Yeah, it's like 24, 25, 26, right around there.
27.
Yeah. 27. Wow. Okay. Sorry, I was way off.
Okay.
And how many of them live and work in town? Because I foresee Merrimack as a large bedroom community where people are commuting out, and that changes what the connection is with the community. That changes, you know, how people think about town centers and think about libraries and think about sort of those cultural institutions. Churches struggle with the same thing. So it's just something I've been really thinking about. How do we really attack this problem in a way that could really create that town center and create that piece that people can engage with and people can appreciate and be proud of. And then we'll worry about book stacks and all that stuff later. So sorry, I might be putting cart before the horse, but that's what I've been thinking about for a couple of weeks. And it only got worse when I talked to Yvette last week. So anyway, that's where I'm
Okay.
at. So we're gonna keep working. I'll pull some sketches together and definitely be at the next trustees meeting. But the question is, did you want to meet before then, or is the next trustees meeting a decent pace?
I would say I feel like it's a decent pace. There's a lot going on the next few weeks. I know everybody will be doing their best to have a happy and healthy holiday. So why don't we set our sights on the next meeting, unless another trustee would like to speak up and would like something sooner. No? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Janice, please go ahead.
I was just curious if we'd see the sketches before the next meeting, or you would be presenting them at the next meeting? And
I
I'm
would
fine
pre-
either way.
I would present them at the meeting.
Okay.
You know, because it's a lot of sort of big ideas. I
Mhm.
make a point to not send stuff out before the meeting. We just
That's
walk
fine.
through it. Once
Just
we
wanted to
get,
know.
yep, that would be my plan, definitely. So is the next trustee meeting the 12th of January?
It would be it's the 3rd,
The 3rd, okay. So that's the
19th.
19th of January.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm just going to put a placeholder in there
Okay.
and make a point to do that.
Great. Well, thank you so much. That was like very
Absolutely.
instructive and a lot to think about. And, you know, just the first step in a very long process of just consideration and information gathering. So we appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the input and look forward to getting some sketches in front of you that you can actually respond and react to.
Excellent.
So we'll get there. Everyone
Okay.
have a great holiday.
Thank you so much. You as
Thank
well,
you.
Jason.
Jason, can you return the host to me?
Oh, please.
I thought I did actually.
It's as host.
How do I do that?
Probably at the, if you click on me.
Make host.
Yep, she's up
I think
now.
you got it.
Excellent.
All
Thank
right.
you, Jason. Happy holidays
bet.
to you and your family. Thank you
Too.
so much.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Max, thank you for being so patient with us. We have a brief public hearing and then you're very next on our agenda. We'll just move you right to the top. So thank you everyone for your patience and your thoughtful commentary on that. And I think Jason, if you have something that occurs to you, I'm sure he would be open to hearing your thoughts on this post meeting. So please feel free to share with him. So we have a public meeting, or public hearing rather. And Yvette, this is my second public hearing, I believe, in the time I've been chair. So should we just read the public hearing announcement? Do you is that how it is normally handled? Yes? Okay. So we have a public hearing to authorize the acceptance and expenditure of donated funds of $5,000 from Digital Credit Union for the purpose of programs that make a difference in your community, pursuant to RSA 202A 4C3A. And we are holding the public hearing right now. So any comments, thoughts?
I make a motion to accept the donation from DCU for $5,000 for programs that make a difference in our community.
Thank you, Janet.
I second
Karen
it.
seconds that.
Oh, he needs-
Okay. We'll have a roll call vote in acceptance. I will say yes. Janice? Janice?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And Sohini?
Yes.
Thank you. That passes 5-0-0. And as always, we are very grateful to DCU for their continued generous support of the library. We are moving on to old business, and Princh is C, but I would like to move Princh up to the top so that Max can address any concerns we have with the Princh printing process. We asked you to be here, Max, because we understand there's some of the normal things that happen when you engage with a new vendor, and there are some problems with getting the funds from Princh back to the trustees. I know, Janet, you had some specific questions about this and that you've been dealing with Max, but Max, have you made any headway in how we can work this situation out?
I have not. So the last headway I made was about 2 weeks ago. I've been in constant contact with our account reps because, of course, we have two over at Princh. Her name is Nina, and she's a very nice woman, but she... How do I say this? Well, I won't say it. I just won't say it.
Can you excuse me for 1 second? Max,
Of course.
Janice, you have your hand raised. Did you have a question about this?
Yeah, I guess I'm not understanding what the issue is.
We are unable to get the funds from Princh. So Princh is that remote printing
Right, I
process.
understand that.
And people are paying the money, but then the money goes to Princh and we need to get the money back to the trustees.
Okay. Thank you.
Janet, did I explain that correctly? Thank you. Okay, Max, thanks. Sorry for that. Go ahead.
It's all right. Thank you for bringing that up, Janice, because we all are a little confused about this process. It seems that it should be a cut and dry thing. I know I've talked with you, Janet, about it, and we've done everything correctly on our side, and the funds are just not being transferred successfully. We've tried the complementary procedure for the transfer of funds about 10 times now, all with different iterations of the same document. We have tried using the SWIFT code, the separate accounting number that our Fidelity account has for us, and to no avail. Our next step either would be to use a non-complementary transfer method, which would incur about a $12 cost, and that's just under 20% of our total earnings for the trial quarter. And the other option would be to roll the funds that we have accrued into our payment for next year. And in the event that we do not want to renew the service next year, they would then push through that more expensive transfer option and waive the $12 fee for the total funds encumbered for the year.
Okay, so Janet, you had specific questions. Were there things that you wanted to ask Max or that we need to know about?
No, he brought everything he brought up is what you guys need to know.
Okay.
Essentially, there's just been a lot of back and forth between Max and his counterpart over with Princh, and he and I have gone back and forth, and I've gone back and forth with Fidelity, and there's some magical switch that just is not being flipped. And I don't know what it is. Max doesn't know what it is. Doesn't seem like Nina knows what it is. And so we can't get the funds back. And like Max said, if we choose to go the non-complimentary way, we incur another charge where it's just another charge. So that's it.
Okay.
So what I would like to recommend we do moving forward is I would like to roll just what we made this quarter was $63.54, and I would like to just volunteer to roll that into the next quarter's payment, which means we will not get paid for this quarter, but I know there are a number of libraries in the GMOOCs consortium that have started up with Princh and have managed to do this very successfully. One of which is Amherst, who has been using Princh for about 3 years now. They're kind of the poster child. They have a nice case study on the Princh website, and they couldn't love them more, apparently. So what I propose we do is just roll the $63.54 into the next quarter payment, and I can reach out to my counterparts at those other libraries and see how they're handling this, because there is obviously an easy solution that all of us are overlooking.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Max. Go ahead, Janet.
The only problem with that, Max, is we just paid the whole yearly subscription with the extra $20.99 international check fee. So the $700 or the $699 that we authorized also now has an additional $20.99 attached to it. And so that $63.44 or $63, whatever the change was, is still just going to sit there. Which it's going to have to. It's just not really going to pay for anything right now because we already did it.
But Max, am I hearing you say, like, as you were saying that, I was kind of reading into that, like, it's got to be able to be done, right?
Yeah.
There's a way it can be done. So once it's figured out, we can flip that switch and get the money. It just might be next quarter.
Yeah, well, that's basically because, I mean, me reaching out to my counterparts and seeing how this process works for them easily, it seems, it's going to happen regardless. Definitely, it's not going to take 2-3 months for that to happen. But by rolling this over into the ending of our next quarter payment, it will at least alleviate the burden on Janet for me to keep contacting her and saying, well, this is what I saw, this is what she says, this is what Nana says. And it'll just be a nice way to kind of lift our feet and give us a little more time to wade through all of these new weird things that happen with all of our vendors.
Yes. Janice, did you have a question?
Oh, are we basically saying that we got to find this magical switch, but that other libraries that use it have found the magical switch and might be able to assist us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And, just I can speak that I had a new vendor and it was like one setting, right? My students couldn't see something. And once they figured out what that one setting was, and no one knew why that setting was set that way, but sometimes it's just that one thing. So I appreciate your diligence in trying to figure out what that one thing is or pressing them to figure it out. So thank you. Janet, I know you, like I said, you had some concerns. Was there anything else that we needed to ask? That was it?
That's it.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for Max while he's here? I won't put you on the spot about it, ask him anything, but about Princh, let's say. No? Okay. Max, thank you for wading through that hour about the building. I hope you found it interesting. So we appreciate your taking time to be here tonight. We really do. So thanks for letting us know what's going on with Princh.
Of course. If you have any
Keep us posted.
questions, yeah, feel free to reach out. Of course, I'll be in touch with you, Janet, as I gather more information because, like you said, it's got to be somewhere.
It's somewhere, right?
No.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Max. Have a wonderful holiday. Thank you for joining us.
You as
we
well.
appreciate
Good night,
it.
ladies.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, so at least, you know what? We know what's going on. We'll hopefully be moving forward. So that was a long meeting with Jason. So I appreciate your patience with that. We have a lot on our agenda. So let's just move right to the November action items. Let's see, I have them before me. The first one was the library director to ask staff for library statistics since start of COVID pandemic. Yvette, did you have a chance to do that?
We're working on it.
Thank you. Library director to talk with department heads about any needs for library hour changes.
We've been talking and no changes. I think I put that on in my report. No changes. Right.
Okay. Let's see. I was to reach out to Matt Upton, town attorney, with questions about investing donations to Quimby Memorial Fund. I did not do that. I guess I did. We have been going back and forth about the Quimby Memorial Fund. I guess I didn't realize I was supposed to ask him about investing. I'm not sure he would have been the person that we would go to. I'm not clear on that. So, Janice.
So sometimes I'm summarizing something and it
Okay.
could be that I've got something lost in translation. So please let me know.
Yeah, I will say that I have been in contact with him, and I did update you guys that he came back with another version of the trust. Janet, Yvette, and I looked at it. Janet had reached out to the Attorney General with some questions. I went back to Mr. Upton and just said we needed to change an address and asked him to consider changing a date, but that was not like a huge deal, but if they're changing it anyways. And I have not heard back from him. I went back to see when I reached out to him and it was December 6th. So I would say if I don't hear back from him in a few days, I'll reach out again. So there was that. Let's see. Library director is to find out if a sample mask can be sent out from vendor.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yvette.
I need to circle back with Arifa about that.
Okay. Let's see. Thank you. Personnel committees. You did send us samples of the library director evaluations. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misunderstood when we were going to address it. I just got so caught up in just trying to get it done. That
Yeah.
I fooled myself, but.
Well, no, and I think that that's something like we talked about that and the bylaws, and that we had considered having a sort of mini retreat in January, especially given this year and how unusual it's been, and that would be a time to go over that. Good. Because we need the time, right? And then also review action items from our past retreat would be something that we could do in January, kind of look at that comprehensively. Let's see, the next one was library director to set a goal to talk about strategic plan. So I don't know if you've given any thought to the strategic plan, Yvette?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
I was, I guess last year, pre-COVID, I was talking to a patron, a resident who's in the business book group, and her company,
I remember this.
Yeah, her company does this kind of thing, but it's looking at the organization as a whole, and I think in a different way than the strategic plan. I think it could be very interesting for us. So I would like to pick that back up she gave me a pamphlet, which I have to kind of look at and answer questions and then get back with her and find out if her company is a good fit for us. You know, that's one option as a consultant. That would be something we would obviously have to pay for her services. You know, in GMILKS and in the NHLA, we're going to be working with Primex to look at our strategic plan. So that's another avenue that we could do. You know, this person that I know who's a resident, it's more looking at, you know, it's looking at how to improve the organization, not just a plan, not just a 3-year plan. It's a little bit of a bigger thing, which I think now with COVID, it might be good to think about things in a really different way. And I don't know. I will follow up with her and I will bring back some information about what her services might be.
Okay, thank you. Next on there was that I was supposed to contact the employment attorney about library director's employment letter, and I have to admit that I just have not had a chance to not make the phone call, but to gather all the information and have my wits about me. So I will make a commitment to doing that over the next couple of weeks. Not on here was letting the Friends and the Development Fund know about our decision to move forward with Jason Lacombe and SMP, which I did do. So I did send an email to Victoria and Bill to make them aware that we were beginning this process. So that was on my list of things to do. So I want to share with you that I did that. Yes, Janice?
The Friends and which other?
The Development Fund?
Development Fund, okay.
Yep, just make them aware. Okay. The next on the agenda was the annual presentation to the town council. Yvette and Janet and I went to the town council meeting, which is always really interesting. It's really always an interesting thing to see what's going on in the town. I'm always grateful when I go or watch. So I think it went really well. I mean, they seemed very positive, very optimistic, very appreciative of all the things that Yvette and our staff do to make the library a wonderful place. So I don't know, Janet, Yvette, do you have anything to add to that? I think that was kind of what it was.
You both did a wonderful job.
Thank
You
you.
both spoke well, and it was
Thank
great.
you. I was like really just like when Mr. Goodrich was up there in the beginning speaking. I don't know if you remember that. I was just so touched like by that whole thing. So it was just lovely. Anyways, so okay, masks order. So sorry, Janice, go ahead.
I want to just jump back to the action items for 1 minute. We purchased all the gift cards, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. I did skip over that one. It's the next action item that trustees, Karen Fried and Janet Krupp purchased gift cards for library staff.
Or purchasing.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So
All right,
they
thank
did
you.
complete it. I was so key on letting you know all the stuff I didn't do that I skipped over the stuff they did do. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. So, okay. Thanks, Janice. Annual presentation to the town council. We did that. Mask order. That's what we're on now. Any news on the mask order? We were looking at it. We were going to see if we could get a sample. So are we still just going to circle back with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me talk to Arfa tomorrow because I don't remember. And
Okay.
sometimes we're on different schedules. You know, I think we're all still trying to work from home a little bit. So I just have to reconnect with her because I know we've talked about it. But
if you could just let us know if there's any word on that. Thank you. Moving on to the shelving project. So the shelving project.
So I sent you some things, which I can share my screen if you want. Let me find.
I didn't get a chance to
That's
check them.
fine. I got it. This is stuff that came out of department heads today, which was really fantastic. Let me just grab my picture. Hello, over here. Okay, so Joanne made a floor plan which will really help you understand what we're talking about. So I'm going to share this right there. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you see, this is as if we're standing on the DW highway,
Mhm.
and the Lowell room is to your left, and the window with the adult services side and all the stacks are to your right. There are 3 areas that we're looking at, and they should be in red. You should be able to see that in red. This first thing, if you imagine yourself coming into the library and turning to go downstairs, we just created this space. Use donated ladder shelf units to display library of things more prominently. So in my director's report, you'll see we got a donation of these kind of ladder shelves. They're open. They're called ladder shelves because they look like a ladder with a lot of space between the shelves and no back on the shelving. Okay. And we got a donation. We put it in the clump room with the rest of the storage, thinking, well, we can accept this, or we can ask the trustees to accept it if we can figure out what to do with it. But until we figure out what to do with it, let's just put it downstairs and figure it out. We kind of tried putting it by the place where the old reference desk was, and then everything shut down and everything, you know, we stopped thinking about that. But the Library of Things used to be over here around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, it was paperbacks on very small kind of handmade shelves by our custodian at the time, Dan. And before that, it was, you know, round spinners, 3 round spinners over here with paperbacks. And I think, you know, the thing that you think about with libraries, and I said this a little bit when Jason was with us, we're always looking for ways to improve what we do. And what we do is serve the patrons. We're always looking for ways to enhance a patron experience. And there are things that you and I as patrons, we don't even realize sometimes what it is, but there's names for this stuff. And, you know, it is, you know, when you walk into a store, bookstore, library, is it open? Is it welcoming? Can I get to the things that I want easily? Do I know that these things exist? And the interesting thing is, I think this Library of Things ladder shelf went up probably a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, and it's already getting so much more attention than it did when it was around the corner, because no one saw it around the corner. Because you have to know to get there. You know, and it's like when we go to a grocery store, I'm going to go get the milk, and you got to walk all the way through to get to the milk. So they're going to put all those displays between me and my milk, and I'm going to buy every single impulse buy that's got chocolate in it. I'm going to hit it, you know. So we take a lot of those ideas from the business world and stores and stuff. And there are lots of webinars and workshops that you can go to about how do you present your library materials and what can we take from the for-profit sector. So this was moved. What went here instead is, right now we've got the graphic novels for adults is on this side, and on this part of it is the video games. So during the closure, if you were in the building when we had the wreaths up, you know, so right before that we had, and it was still like this when the wreaths were up, we had the video game bin right here in front of the windows. And one of the things that kind of started this whole conversation and thought process in terms of what if we did this? And every time you say one what if, it impacts every single other thing, like a domino line, like a line of dominoes. They noticed that the patrons were kneeling on the ground and rifling through the video games and touching all of them. Now we're in COVID and we don't want anyone to touch every single video case. And so they're like, how can we re-shelve these things so that people aren't touching every single one. You know, you want to have it face out, or maybe they can read the spines, but in this current bin that they were using, it wasn't working. And so this comes to a lot of conversations among the staff, and that bin, we don't know what it was originally used for, but it has been here since Joanne's been there, I think she said, but maybe it had LP records. You know, it's a very wide, deep bin. And, you know, we always make do with what we have. And I think we've now been, in my tenure as the director, trying to create this experience when patrons come into the library and make it welcoming and spacious and easy to find things and that kind of thing. And so, you know, trying to reuse existing shelving until it doesn't work anymore. And then when we have an opportunity to say, well, maybe we could change this and really make it easier for patrons, then we start to, you know, come up with these kind of projects. I think with this project, what we're looking at is this, you'll remember, is very shallow shelving. It's not the same size as regular shelving that might be against this wall. This is regular library shelving. The company that we are working with for ideas and designs is Tucker Library Interiors. That's what they do. They do shelving. They did the shelving in the children's room after the flood when we had to replace some of that damaged stuff. And Chip Hagee is the vendor we always work with, and he's very, very accommodating and just very helpful. So what we'd like to do here is to just make it like regular library shelving, because right now we are so limited to which collections we can shelve there. They have to fit in this very shallow shelf, like paperbacks or video games. You can't put a regular book on there, and so we're really limited with what we can do. I think the second project, I'm going to come down here, and this is, you'll think and remember right here, around here, is a display cube with Christmas stuff on it right now. We've got the new books, hot books here, and it's just three cabinets. This collection is, when you talk about ease of patron finding their stuff, we usually talk about flow. What is the logical way that I'm going to move around a space? And it's usually like alphabetically or numerically. And so I'm going to go and start with A, and like how you read a page in a book, I'm going to go top, left to right, down, left to right, and down. And then I'm going to go up to the next shelf and start again, top, left to right. When we run out of space, then it starts to be, well, the audios are here, but then you have to come over here to finish. And there's no instinctive thought process for a patron involved in that. You have to be a staff to know, which we don't want to, you know, people want to browse and be free to browse on their own. And so if we change the flow of how something is shelved so that it makes intuitive sense to a patron, then they'll just naturally walk around and say, oh, I see it turns this way and I'm going to go that way. And you know, we're always trying to, you know, clean up the collection, make it very vibrant, and also findable, discoverable. And this is the challenge we have in this corner. We haven't addressed this corner. We've done that with other parts of the library. We did that downstairs with like the fiction, the series books. We're separating the fiction kids books, and you had to go around a staff desk and jump over and go, okay, well, D starts here. And so now that we have, you know, current staff, a lot of times they kind of look at it with fresh eyes and go, why is it like this? And why is it so hard? Why are you making it so hard for the patrons? And go, well, but this is the shelving that exists. Well, can we get new shelving? I don't know. Let's go see what it costs. Let's go see what, you know, it might look like, and that kind of thing. So this would be extending one out. These shelves are from a different location. They were in storage. I believe they came out of the Lowell room. several years ago when we opened that up, and they've been in storage at JOACC. Tucker would have one column here and then an end cap. And then, of course, you know, if you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to ask for a glass of milk. And if you have a librarian looking at this side, we're going to turn around and we're going to look over here and say, why do we have these? Why are these there? You know, well, these are there because, you know, and so project 3 is the DVD shelving. And there's only that type of item that you can put on the wire shelves. Nothing else will fit on that. Our DVD collection is very stable, very good. This also in the media with CDs. These are kind of unfortunate because they have drawers, and the second drawer, it's so deep that you can't see the titles in the back of the drawer. And this is a collection that is still being used and still growing. Audiobooks are over here, and they're split between 2 bookcases. And then the DVDs are still very usable, used collection. And then CDs are still being used. But these are, there are better shelving options out there that a patron wouldn't have to get on their hands and knees to find something, and they wouldn't have to reach all the way back into a very deep drawer to get it. And I think when it's easier, when we make browsing easier for patrons, they're willing to do it, you know. So this is just, you know, the area we kind of have gotten to, and it started because someone was touching, you know, all the video games. So that's that. Any questions about the floor plan? Do you understand what I'm talking about, where I'm at here in the building? Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions about that?
Karen, did you have something?
You've broken it up into different projects. Does that mean that the materials are going to be broken up and that this is going to go over a period of time? Or how do you envision implementing this? I don't, have we discussed these ideas at all?
No.
Okay. So
I think I've sent you pieces of stuff.
Yeah.
Because we haven't been talking about it. I think I must have sent you a quote or something in November if I sent anything, but you got it again today. So when Chip comes in, he quotes everything, and you know, if we're doing multiple projects, he originally came in to talk about the reference desk. Okay, so back, I think it's 2017, our reference desks are broken.
Yeah.
The drawers don't open or close all the way. We've had some issues. They're just old office desks. So, you know, it's okay. So then go shop for a new desk. You know? and it depends on the department head. Are they gonna go shop for a new desk and come up with an answer, or just sit there and go, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't have an answer for you. So the previous head, previous to Max, was very overwhelmed and didn't have an answer for me. But of course, I get a new department head. I go, great. Can you talk to me about the desk? Because this desk is still broken, and can we just close this loop? So Max talked to the staff, talked to Joanne, got some feedback, you know, with circulation, we're moving things around, and, you know, so we got back with Chip at Tucker, and during the end of the summer or fall, we were trying to get him to come to the library to look at the space and talk to Max. And he was actually waiting to become a grandfather, and he was the backup for the mom and dad. So he was in quarantine, and he said, I'm not going anywhere until this baby comes. And we said, that's fine. This this is an idea. These are wish list things that we put out in space, and we've thought about it for years. So, oh God, there's no rush on a baby, my goodness. So he had a girl, they had a girl. And then he came in. So he was talking to Max about the desk, and I think I might have sent you that one as well in the second email with a sketch. We don't have any more information on that, because when he was standing there, he's like, well, you know, you buy more, you get a bigger discount. So are there any other projects that you want to kind of throw at me? And they said, actually, yes. And they came up with these 3 problems, and he came back with some information. And then we were still kind of discussing the desk. That one is it's not as straightforward as shelving, honestly, because you have, where does the patron seat, you know, how are we thinking about counter level, height level, you know, there's a lot of little things that we're still talking about, but this was very kind of a direct, you know, much simpler idea. So they just kind of moved on that more. And, you know, of course they're talking to me about this, and I'm like, sure, that sounds good to me. Oh, that's a good, you know, it all sounds good to me. And especially when they start to talk about, you know, I know about the problems with the slat wall, because I was one of the people to put up the slat wall, you know, and I know about the problem with the paperbacks because I was part of that too. You know, I know about the problem with the audiobooks and the flow and how it breaks and you have to go to the wall. And if you don't know to go to the wall, you're not going to look at the rest of the collection. So, I mean, this is something that I've charged my staff with, is how can we do this better? Always be looking at ways to do better, and use the space better. You know, so this is where we are. I think it's very exciting. I love all of these. They all seem to be solutions to me. So we had a question about money. Of course, we have a question about money. So we did go through the list of POs, which I think I just sent you, like at 5 or something.
Yep.
But we went through that in department heads, and one of the things that Joanne mentioned to me that we will follow up with Paul tomorrow is she's estimating there is a 22 to 24 surplus in the personnel lines. And that's her rough estimate. So that's $22,000 right there.
But what about those open POs though? Don't we want to use that before we use surplus from this budget?
When you say open, it's not open. It's earmarked.
Okay.
With intention to spend. You know, there's stuff we're going to use. I want to get to that piece of paper. Here we go. And also, I did collect the narrative that Janet, you asked for from Joanne, Max, and Jen, which I typed up, and I can send that to you guys. I'm assuming you guys are going to want to sleep on this or something, but I can screen share it or send it. I don't know if I sent it right before. But we have, do you have the documents, or do you want me to share my screen for the POs?
Can you just share your screen so we're all looking at the same thing? I think that's probably easier.
Yep. Janice?
You're muted.
You're on mute.
There's a sheet here that shows all the costs for this shelving.
Yep.
I couldn't see if there's a time frame. Like, will this expire by a certain time? Okay.
Not with Chip. I doubt it. I mean, he's talking about materials, you know, so you've got like steel, wood, that kind of thing. And I think I have not heard anything that he might have said about delays due to COVID, you know, delays in shipping or manufacturing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm in the wrong.
With the 3 different projects,
Yes.
will the projects be be only one at a time and spread out over time, or are
No.
they going to be all at once, or
Just one day, one morning.
one day? For everything?
Yeah.
Whoa, okay.
Well, there's preparation that we do. We take
Yeah.
everything off
Yes,
and put it on tables.
yep, it said that.
And then they come in, I think they said they could come in at 7 and get everything done, installed, and be done by maybe noon or 1.
Really?
You know, but they bring a crew in and just, you know, they move pretty quick.
So Joanne is thinking that there's upwards of 20,000 extra in the personnel line?
That's what she's thinking, yeah.
Because the discount is lovely, but I just was a little surprised because I remember you talking about the DVDs, especially in that wall, but and I didn't realize that was what you're replacing, which I know needs replacement.
Okay, oh gosh.
So I guess, I mean, I hear what you're saying about the personnel, and 2 things. One, on the back, well, on my page, it's on the back. It does say the prices are firm for 30 days. So if you're saying he's more flexible than that, but I mean, I guess my thought would be, don't we want to spend the money from last year if we're able to, rather than use money from this year? Or
Let me show you. Okay, so can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, so these are the notes we want to look at. And let me get from here. Okay. So we encumbered, this is the fiscal year 17-18. So these are older 18-19 fiscal year, 19-20. And we're still spending, you know, expecting to spend this. This is a verbal tutor trainer that I was going to bring in, and then COVID happened. So we're going to do it virtually. He probably won't cost $6,000. Programming, that's encumbered. So it's earmarked already. We already had encumbered $1,000 for a new reference desk. This new sketch that Chip kind of has shown us is probably going to be more like $4,000 for a desk, so that we have some of that already encumbered. Things like, you know, this was encumbered when Jen Green was the circulation head and didn't end up finding the bar scanners. You know, we encumber something in June and then go and look to see, can we get the thing that we want? And it didn't find the thing that she wanted. Didn't find the bar scanner that would work. So that money's still there. And, you know, Paul and Joanne communicate to see, you know, okay, close this PO and it goes back into the library, you know, budget, and we can re-encumber it for something else. This would stay with office equipment. But we haven't done that because it's still, you know, now I have a different circ head. And do you find barcode scanners that work for the department as you envision the department? Office supplies, staples, replace steps. This project is happening. It's actually, we're working to coordinate with police and DPW to close the corner. This is going to take a couple of days, but that money's already, you know, expecting to use all of this. Again, railing, that's part of the project, expecting to use all of this. Max said today that this money that we estimated would go into Canopy, actually, we could use some of this. We could use $7,000 of this line. You know, they also talked about, you know, they're concerned that the fiction collection was, you know, needing to be built up financially. And so that, you'll remember, we put that in the current,
Yeah.
you know, prospective budget. But this would be something he said he's okay with using these funds. And also he said, because this is, like, in his mind, this is adult services, you know, because he manages it. And so it would stay with adult services. And I'm like, well, it's actually materials, and it moves to office, you know, equipment, and it's a different line. But he doesn't work with the spreadsheet the way Joanne and I do. So, you know, this would be, you know, the trustees could vote to move $7,000 of this to a new thing for the shelving. Let's see. This is a PO that Joanne said has been, you know, she's been communicating with finance department to close it. It still appears when she runs a report. These are all the POs that when she runs a report appear as existing, as open. You know, but open doesn't mean unavailable. It just means we grabbed, you know, we encumbered the money, but it's, you know, here is where we're expecting to use it. Now we're getting to more recent ones. Materials, expecting to use all of these. This is the part of the general things that we weren't sure what the things were that we would need for COVID. And it's become partitions, you know, the plastic partitions that hang between the staff side and the patron side of the desks. She said there might be some available here. We're going to use, this is all stuff that we are kind of in the current year using.
Can you use
We
COVID
have-
for COVID on shelving?
If there's extra and you vote, you know, we kind of vote to move the line if it's a different line, or at least you have an understanding that it's going to be reallocated.
Okay.
You know, that we're having this conversation, and I'm saying, here's some money. This is where it can be reallocated to go to the shelving. The other thing is, this is the architectural design, which we encumbered based on the most expensive one. So this is the one really,
Whoa.
you know, there's lots of funding there that can be reallocated to go towards possibly both of these projects, the desk, which we don't really have a quote on, and the shelving. And they were even saying to me today, the aqua light filter, you know, the Aqualite things that are filtering the air. You know, I mean, the COVID thing, we had, this one is $8,000 in terms of COVID. This was a machine, if you remember way back, we were wondering, you know, do library materials, especially oddly shaped things like game controllers, library of things, do they need to be sterilized to be returned to the library? And I think at that point, nobody knew really how things were needing to be cleaned to be put back into circulation. So we encumber the money as a maybe. And then I think through understanding the virus, knowing how we are quarantining materials, and then looking now at the bigger picture of air quality and how that really might help, because it's all in the droplets and the air, that probably the air cleaning system is a better option that addresses a lot of other issues as well that I think I wrote to you about, in terms of the HVAC and the air circulation in the building anyway. So there's the 8,000 right there, and the sterilization, that is about $4,500. We're kind of estimating between $12,000 and $14,000, $12,000 and $14,000 to put units throughout the building. Any questions about this?
No. Pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not
Yeah,
bad.
so does anybody, let's start with the shelving. Does anybody have any concerns about the shelving, which all seems very reasonable to me? I actually think those CD cases were here when I worked there over 20 years ago, and they were a problem then. So if they're the same ones, they had the drawers and then you couldn't see what was coming back. So they've been there a long time. It's time for an improvement, and we certainly don't want people have to get on their knees or do something like that. I think that is just so against making the library a very accessible place for as many people as possible. So does anyone have any concerns about the shelving? Janice?
I don't have a concern about the shelving. I'm trying to understand, all that money we just talked about is money out of the library budget, correct?
That's money at the end of the year that we encumbered because it was surplus from last year because of the COVID closing and personnel changes and all of that stuff. So that was money we had left over that we've encumbered that we can now spend. We might just have to vote to move it from that particular line to another purpose. So
yes, I'm in favor of the shelving.
okay, so Janet Sohini, any concerns about the shelving?
No, I like the shelving. I'm more interested in using the money from like 1819 lines and pulling it from there, stuff that's older, just because I know that sometimes if it's not spent, it goes back. It's not just that it doesn't go back, it's just we don't actually have it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So even with the open PO, it's just once it can be taken away.
Okay, so would you recommend that we take the 1819, what is remaining in the 1819 POs, and then perhaps the balance of the $12,839.85 from the money we had dedicated to the architecture, it's now $45,000 that's left over in that line. So starting with what's in the 1819, zero those all out, and then make up the balance from that architecture line?
I would look at, I mean, Yvette said that there are certain things that are earmarked, but there were some lines that were available, and I would take it from those lines, and then the balance from the architecture.
Yvette, are you clear on what lines Janet's talking about taking it from? Because I'm not sure I am at 8:45. I don't know. Am I clear? I don't know.
In front of me, I stopped sharing my screen. So what you're looking at, Janet, is the business card.
I'm not looking at
verbal
anything.
judo. Oh, what I'm looking at that you are referring to.
Can you share it? Can you share it again, just so that I think it would probably be easier.
Oh wait, hang on a second. Yep, here we go.
Thank you.
So up here at the top, here's the fiscal years here. So what I would do is go back to department heads and say, you know, I don't know how to say this. It's like, okay, okay, let's look at this one. This is a good one to look at because here's 1819. So that was the fiscal year that we encumbered it at the end of the year. And then it became 1920 and we were going to spend this. And I have no idea off the top of my head why we didn't spend it. But if I go to Kathy and Max, I would say, okay, here's your programming money, and are you planning any money with, you know, any programs with this? I mean, I think this is an easy one, unless this is DCU money, which it can't be because it's town money because it's grabbed. You know, I would just out of courtesy to the department heads, you know, say, you know, here's a place where the trustees suggest, you know, that doesn't mean the trustees are going to say don't do programming, or we're taking away funding for programming. There's other programming over here, DCU money, for example, and can we reallocate this to the shelving? You know,
Well, and Yvette, frankly, I mean, when I see $2,200 that's still out there for library materials from 17, 18, like that money should be spent. That's like, that's not okay that that's sitting there, right? Like we want to use that for library materials if that's what it should be used for. So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, spend it.
I mean,
right?
I don't want to, I'm just, you know.
Well, when they say that we need money for fiction, there's materials money right there, you know? So I see Janet's point, like use the money that's there. That's what it's there for. We don't want to lose it. So,
But see, you could also, so let's say that 5,000 for the programs, and then Max said the 7,000 from the materials line for Canopy. It's like, that's more than enough. I mean, that's 7, I mean, okay, that's 12, that totally covers it.
mm-hmm.
So.
So is that our proposal, that we would like Yvette to ask the staff if they have intentions of using that $5,000, because we'd like to see it spent. And if their intention is that, no, that's okay, then, and they understand that we will be using it for shelving and adult services in that way, that then we would use money from that line item and from Canopy. And then where is the other $839.85 coming from?
Is it, how much? I don't even know how much it is.
It's $12,839.85. So if we get 5,000 from that program line, 7,000 from Canopy, we still have $839.85 to spend, to find.
Well, I think we've got, you know, the barcode scanners.
Yeah.
That seems dead in the water to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is a little bit of library materials. What we do, okay, so this PO is already, has been used to buy materials from Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we say to finance, close this, and then the money, this money left over here, if that's correct, will kind of be released from this budget line, library materials, and then we can grab it, you know, create a PO saying, like we can say to Tammy, we're going to create a PO with this, this, this. I don't know if it's challenging to close a PO. That's a little bit more with how does the finance department work in terms of their accounting software.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's, no, this is already, you know, it's too hard to close. I don't know, because a lot of times when I used to work with the POs, and it's more something that Joanne does now than it was, okay, this is an Ingram thing. I've really spent everything. I've got $12 left. Let's get rid of the $12, close the PO. You know, or you can write on an invoice, I want this invoice to be paid with this PO and this PO. Like if I have two Ingrams going out and one is almost empty and the other one is a new one, you know, it has $500. I want, okay, pay $30 out of this one and close it, and then pay the other $50 out of this one. And, you know, there are ways to do it, I think. So,
well, and honestly, you
Yeah.
also have the $1,000 for the desk,
Yep.
which I know you're saying you're expecting to use it, but we also know we have the excess money in the architecture one. So this would also, it's up for grabs, right? I understand that you're expecting to use it. I understand that we're going to get a quote for a desk, but if we're trying to close out the 1819,
Yep.
that could also be applied to it. So should we say that the trustees, would I be so bold as to make a motion that using the $5,000, and I really, let's hope I can get through this, the $5,000 from programming, $7,000 from Canopy, and then assorted other POs from with our goal of closing out the 17, 18, and 18, 19, that you would find the $12,839.85 to move forward with the shelving. Does that speak to our intention, trustees? With that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody will have to say that again.
And then
Okay.
send it to me.
Okay. So I will make a motion that Yvette use $5,000 that's currently dedicated to programming from it's an 1819 PO, $7,000 from the Canopy PO, and then use money from the 1718 or 1819 POs to find the balance for the shelving, which will result in $12,839.85 being taken from those encumbered POs.
I'll second.
Thank you, Janet. Okay, I will vote in favor. Janet,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Sohini,
Yes.
and Janice.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move forward with that. Yvette, we'll leave it up to your magical POing to figure out what's going to happen. Or Joanne will make it work. So the money is there, and we will just be trying to close out the older ones, which I think is just good practice, and spend that money first.
Okay.
So,
If there's any weird bumps, I'll just shoot you guys an email so you're in the loop.
sounds perfect.
That sounds
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Okay.
And I hope that with the motion being that it's to use those POs from 1718 and 1819, you'll be able to find the money within there. So let us know. Okay, we're finally moving on to new business. Let's just say the policies. You sent us 2 policies.
Yeah.
Are these just Janice?
3.
Three.
3. I'm sorry, 3. Let's see. What do I have? I have the interlibrary loan policy,
Mm-hmm.
the advertising surfaces in the library, and I'm sorry, those are the only 2 that I have in front of me. What was the third one?
Interlibrary loan.
I have that interlibrary loan.
Did you get programming?
Advertising and programming.
I didn't. I'll look up the programming one on my phone while we're doing this. Okay, so are these just an annual review, or is there something that you want to bring to our attention?
Okay, so advertising surfaces is an annual review. We added the little one number 7 about the exterior sign, and it's just the exterior signage in general, just because it hadn't been reflected before, because now, you know, with the old reader board sign, no one asked us, can I use your reader board? And now with an electronic sign, people say, hey, can I use that? And we say no. But if there's an emergency about, or voting, we posted about information about, you know, because Eileen asked all of the departments with signs to do so. We also wanted to mention about, you know, when people, without asking, put lawn signs anywhere on the outside property, and just, you know, please ask us if you want to do something. We'll see if we can do it. And if you don't ask, it's going to go away, you know, and you know, just to have a little bit more authority over that, and make it be clear to folks before they randomly start putting things in the lawn.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, does anybody have any comments, questions? Janice, go ahead.
I was going to start making motion.
Please do. Please
So I
go
actually
ahead.
have a question.
Janet,
Okay,
wait a
go ahead.
question.
So given that we have an executive head, was there a particular reason why that position wasn't used instead of head of adult services?
Yeah, because the reference librarian is sitting at a desk, and people always go to the reference lab. It doesn't matter who's on the reference list, they always go to that spot. And that position was always managing the notices that were up on that other door, that other bulletin board, and also tabletop. This is, it's not called the bulletin board policy anymore, because Brenda wanted to change it to advertising services, but it also had to do with things that organizations wanted to leave out. Like, here's a thing from the, you know, adult education, can you display it? of course, sure, let's do it. But it's not on a bulletin board. It's in a stack of flyers or, you know, whatever, brochures or something. So he wanted to kind of cover those kind of things. So it's usually just because that's the person they talk to and that's the person who manages the kiosks. So,
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
Janice, motion away. Go ahead.
All right, I move we accept the interlibrary loan policy. We'll have a second.
Oh, advertising surfaces.
Oh, you want me to do them all?
Well, no, we are only on advertising surfaces
Oh,
right
okay.
now.
I'm sorry. So I move that we accept the advertising surfaces policy.
Okay.
I second.
Thank you, Sohini. I'll vote in favor. Janet,
Yes.
Janice,
Yes.
Sohini,
Yes.
and Karen.
Yes.
Thank you. So that passes 500. We'll move on to interlibrary loan. Any questions or comments before Janice jumps in to make a motion? So,
Interlibrary loan, this is the policy that the other libraries in the state work with. We've never posted it. It's almost like a new policy, or at least written down and letting everyone know this is what the policy is. I probably found out about it like 2 years ago, and then we started working on it and then the state ILL group were changing things. So this is now something that it's almost just for your information. There's no changes really that we're going to make, because it's something that the ILL, the libraries that buy into this and agree to use this they've agreed to do it this way. So,
Karen.
I am glad that this is being addressed in this particular way, because one of the complaints I have heard is that it seems like every time I request a book, I have to wait for it because it comes from another library. It doesn't seem like we have very many, and that is very many of the books that I want, whatever. And so this addresses that the interlibrary loan is intended to be, you know, an accompaniment to our materials, our choices, and that, you know, and we are purchasing materials, and ILL is a secondary. It's an adjunct, and so I'm all for it.
Okay.
I can say, go look at our policy.
Well, you move. You move it. Unless there's
I move that the library adopt the is it ILL policy? I don't know. I don't have it in front of me.
Interlibrary loan policy.
Yeah,
Yes.
the interlibrary loan policy as written.
Okay.
I
So,
second.
thank you. Okay, I will say yes. Janet,
Yes.
Janice,
yes.
Sohini,
Yes.
and Karen.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, programming.
yeah. So
There are some changes.
Yes, I had Kathy and Max review this because their departments are the ones that do the majority of the programs, and we made just a couple of changes in red. There's also an attached document of the Library Bill of Rights, which we want to work off of. And so we added virtual locations, you know, because now we're doing virtual programs. And then we talked a lot about registration and giving Merrimack cardholders priority if we're having registrations. Sometimes, you know, we've gone through different seasons of registering, not registering, drop-in. Now with virtual, nothing is registered. But Max and Kathy thought it was time to at least mention that, you know, we reserve the right to put a cap on how many people can attend this program. I said, okay, that's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
and that sometimes there's a fee for materials, you know, they broke that out.
Sure.
Not usually, but Yeah, I
I'll
think
make a
they're
motion.
covering their
I'm gonna
bases.
make wait, is there any discussion before I jump in and make a motion? Okay, I make a motion, we accept the programming policy with the changes.
I
I'll
second.
second.
Okay, so Heaney seconds. I'll say yes. Janet,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Sohini,
Yes.
and Janice.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, trustee bylaws, we're going to go over that at our January retreat. Not now. No, not at 9:03. Annual town report. Yvette, do you have anything to share with us about that or stuff we need to do for that?
Just that it will be due. I put it in my director's report. I believe it's due January, middle of January, 15th. So you'll remember there's a narrative that I put together. I'll run it by the chair. You guys can look at it, whatever. And then we're going to put in statistics that we always put in, and the financial reports. Janet usually get that to us for that. And I think, one of the things that Kristen, would like us to see is the effect of COVID. It's a little bit of a goofy year. So, when we're pulling the statistics that we mentioned at the beginning of this meeting under the director's things to do, it's, what does that COVID part of the year look like? And that will be reflected in the town report as well, So yeah, it's just, that is coming.
Awesome. I knew there was something I also wanted to share with you when I sent you guys that updated email, and it was this, that we had a person reach out and he is interested in becoming a trustee alternate, and Yvette forwarded me his information, but we weren't really sure what the trustee alternate application process looked like. Janice, as an alternate, did you interview with the chair? What was that process like? Or do you have no recollection for that?
No, I didn't interview with anybody. Well, that's not true. I contacted Rick Barnes because that was in the newspaper. So I guess that's an interview of sorts. And then I came to a meeting.
Yes, you came to a meeting, and I think I have in a notebook that specific.
Yeah.
Yes, I have the application for an alternate trustee.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
not the form, but I believe it's requirements.
Right.
Or
I don't think
steps.
there's actually a form.
Steps. I don't
Exactly.
remember
There's
seeing
steps. It's like
steps.
Janice had to get, the town council has to appoint
Yeah,
her.
but that's after she's attended meetings attended meetings, and we've approved her as a candidate to be an
Yeah,
alternate.
I do remember going before the council.
Yeah.
So
you-
then perhaps I should try to find that document. It's probably in my trustee manual, and reach out to this gentleman to explain like what the process would be based on that document, and then invite him to our next trustee meeting in January. I think that I will look for that document, and what I will do is just perhaps send it to you all before I call him, just to make sure that if there was something that was different, like in application versus what it looks like on paper, if like once I send it to you, if you go, oh, no, actually we do this and that. So I will get that together and send it to you this week, what I find, and you guys can let me know, and then I'll reach out to him and just touch base and invite him.
Yep.
So,
Yay.
okay. I'm sorry?
I said, yay.
Okay, yeah, okay, yes, so that's exciting. Okay, so that's that. And I can forward you his information also. So, all right, moving on to the operating budget. Anything? Okay, we're gonna just keep going then. Director's report, director's report.
Okay, you accepted the DCU funds in the public hearing earlier. We received a donation of ladder shelving from an anonymous patron and have found a good use for this display, as you saw on the map, for our Library of Things collection. Can you vote to accept these shelves?
I make a motion, we accept the ladder shelving from the anonymous donor.
I second.
I say yes. Janet,
Yes.
Janice,
Yes.
Sohini,
Yes.
and Karen.
Yes.
Okay, thank
Who
you, everybody.
seconded? Who
Say
seconded?
again?
Who was the second?
Me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Today, this is new. We received a check for $400 from Heather McDonald and William
Yes.
Dallas.
Oh,
This is at the
they
end of the
donated.
year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you like to vote to accept that?
I vote to accept the donation from Heather McDonald and William Dallas
Yes.
Of $400?
of $400.
Okay, I'll second that. Okay, I vote in favor. Janet,
Yes.
Janice,
Yes.
Sohini,
Yes.
and Karen.
Yes.
And thank you to them for that very generous donation.
I'm sorry. Who moved that?
Janet,
I
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
I'm trying to write as furiously as I can. Who seconded?
I did.
Deb.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Okay. Thank you, Yvette. Next, personnel.
We've extended a conditional offer of employment to Alex Jobin for the part-time circulation page aide. He came in for onboarding paperwork on the 7th. PAR has been signed and submitted to the town. Conditional offer is pending a clean background check. Would you like to vote to accept his hiring?
So you might remember, go ahead, Karen. Sorry,
I was going to start the motion, so
go for
ahead.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's okay.
I move that we accept Alex Jobin, or that we hire Alex Jobin as a page aide pending.
Period.
Yeah,
Pending
exactly.
a clean background check.
Pending a clean background check. Thank you. Okay, I will second that. I'll vote yes. Janet,
Yes.
Janice,
Yes.
Sohini,
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
And I was just going to say before Karen made that motion, it was great because Yvette let me know there was a PAR. I just went in and signed it that day. We could move forward. I sent you guys the email. So I think as long as we're all in the loop and know what's going on. So we didn't have to hold that up till now. So
Yeah.
thank you.
And then the other thing is, talking about Aqualite air purifiers.
Yeah.
I think I sent you some information about that. I don't know if you've had time to look at it.
Yeah. Oh, I did. I took the time because it was really interesting.
Yeah.
And they sent us, you attached a slideshow.
Mhm, mhm.
And yeah, so there was a lot of information.
I looked at it as well, but I'm not sure I can give you any more feedback than what Karen just said.
Yeah, it was a lot of information.
Interesting, yes.
And I also checked some of those other things you sent, the paper from it was Kansas State and for that's more like for sterilizing and stainless steel and things like that. I don't know how much stainless steel there is in the library, but it was interesting.
Well, it's also a different kind of, it was a different product.
Yeah, it's like an ultraviolet light sterilizing thing. Yes, it was a different product.
So are we trying to decide whether to purchase those?
We think it's a good idea. We had her, the vendor came in and plugged it in and we heard it. I think we were most concerned about the noise. Was it really a noisy machine? And it's not. She described the process for how it would run. You can, turn it off at night if you want to. You can switch to high when you come in, that kind of thing. And she had a air monitor that she was, here's the before and here's it's been running a couple of minutes during a demo and it's already lower. I think what I like about it is that it's unobtrusive. We do have air circulation issues in the building.
Mm-hmm.
There are vents that don't go anywhere, and it's I don't know why. It's just
Yeah.
it's weird.
How
So
many of these would you need for the library building, and how much would that?
And where would they be going?
yeah. So let me find that paper from that meeting. All right. There are like there are two kinds that we're thinking of. A big one that is a little bit bigger than kind of a tower for a computer, depending on how old your computer is, but think that size, or like a carry-on suitcase, but it's flat. It's a rectangle. It's more like a computer tower shape. And then something that's more like a cube that is, I don't know, maybe the specs are in the handouts I sent.
These are for air purifiers, right?
Yes,
Not
yes.
not for the UV light.
No. We're talking about air purifiers. So for large ones, which are $2,000 each, putting one on the main floor and putting one in the children's room. Those are the biggest square footage areas that we're thinking of need a big one. If you buy more, you get a deal. So the small ones, we're thinking the lower office, the tech office, the director's office, and the clump room. And I was asking them, why don't we have these other, we still have 3 spaces in the building, but they were trying to be, Joanne was trying to be conservative in the ask. But the staff room, obviously we would want to reuse, we'd want to open up that room up and give people the opportunity to, or the ability to use it and be confident and comfortable in there. The Lowell room, and then the workroom off of children's. And so it's kind of like priorities. It's main and children's, and then lower office, tech, director, clump. Those are those priorities. And then when I pressed them, they said staff room, Lowell, and the workroom. These are portable. So I think they were thinking, well, if we're going to have something in the Lowell room, we can grab it from the director's room and put it in there. And it's like, if I remember to do that, it doesn't solve the ventilation problem that we have, so why not just do it right and just put them where we put them and leave them alone, but altogether it's $14,500 with everything. If we don't do the staff room, Lowell, and workroom off the children's room, then it's like 10. I think it's 10 because I add 4,500.
How often do the filters need to be changed, and how much do they cost?
I think it was a year.
Oh, okay. They last that long.
Yeah, and the cost it's not a big deal. It's not,
okay.
Jared was there. He was like,
Okay. I mean, I think we have to do this. Like, I honestly, for something that's especially portable, given that the air in the building has been an issue, and we know now that this is one thing that we can do to keep our patrons and staff safer. Like, in my opinion, it's obvious to me that this is what people should be doing, is improving their HVAC systems or the air quality in any way that they can. So
yeah, and we had a conversation with Paul during the budget season, budget discussions. So what would it cost to kind of redo the whole HVAC? And his reaction was, that's monumental, and maybe not the right time to really dig into the building. Like now, I think this is a great solution, and we don't know how long we're going to be exploring a different building or renovation. This solves the problem now.
Yes, and we could take them with us if we were going to leave.
Yeah,
Because even if it's a brand new building, you still want to purify the air. You want to move it.
Books are dusty, and I mean, if you've worked in a library, there's a lot of stuff. I don't wear contacts anymore because I can't anymore. It's too dry. It's just, anyway.
Janice, I think Janice wanted to say something. Janice, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand this will be in place of an HVAC system.
Well, no, we still have our HVAC, but like in order to upgrade the HVAC to take care of the air quality issues and all of that, it would just be cost prohibitive, right?
Okay.
But this is in order to help purify the air for COVID, and it looks like other airborne illnesses also are purified through these.
And then one question that I had was, are there COVID funds that we could ask for? Because we wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for COVID.
I think I sent Paul's responses to you guys in an email, which I don't know if you had a chance to look at it.
Okay.
And I haven't had a chance to talk to Joanne about that.
Okay.
Which I can circle back with her tomorrow. But yeah, I think we should still record this is a COVID expense for us. And there, I mean, I don't know what we're going to need in the future in terms of records, like stuff like that. I had a trustee years ago who was like, we've done so much work on the building. I want a spreadsheet and I want to know what's all the things we've done on the building, and we had to go find it. So I think it's that kind of thing. Like if we ever wanted to look at how much did we spend on COVID? Remember when we used to? Oh God.
So the money, so we have money set aside for the purification system. So that was like $8,000 or so?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we're looking at whether we think, well, I should ask first, does anybody have any concerns about us actually purchasing them? Is there anybody who thinks this is not a good idea or anything like that? Janice, go ahead.
I just have one other question. Does it cost anything to maintain these machines, and do we have to pay for some kind of servicing?
I don't think so. I mean, Jared was looking at it, and it's a pretty simple.
Okay.
It's a pretty simple thing. No.
I would
Is it a
imagine it's
normal
like
plug.
Yeah.
I imagine it's like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Janet.
Well, I was going to say, given all the areas that it's going to be in, will this require any weird new electrical any place?
No, it fits into a regular plug. It's not grounded, and I think I sent you pictures of it bracketed on
Yes.
sitting on a
Yes,
shelf with a
shelf.
bracket.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were looking at it, Jared was kind of looking all around the room, and he was like, "Well, it could go in the ceiling." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, because then it's up." But he says it's really not a big impact. It's really not.
It would
Okay.
solve a long-standing problem.
And a current one. So what are people's thoughts on the $10,000 versus going for the $14,000 that would take care of the Lowell room, the staff room, the workroom?
I think if we're going to do this, we really should do it for the entire building. It doesn't make sense not to. To me, we're compromising the health of the patrons and our staff, so why not cover all areas? Or potentially compromising.
I also I don't like the idea of being like, yep, we're going to do all this, but sorry, staff room, you're out of luck. And that room has there's no air circulation in that room. I mean, it is just closed off completely unless you have the door open. So, so where would the other 6,000 come from? Is that something you need to run by us, or is that like,
Nope.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Well, we were just looking at the PO.
I was going to say, I'd look back at the
Let's look back
POs.
at the PO list. So. Okay, so there's 8,000 there that could be devoted to this. Then we're looking
Yep.
for like another 6,000,
6.5.
6.5.
Can I jump back to where the 8,000 comes from?
Remember there was that system that was going to sterilize all the books? And then Yvette mentioned, or like the Xbox controllers or any weird shaped things. But then Yvette said that now we understand that it's more like droplets in the air, not contact on surfaces quite as much. So
That's
we're not going to.
That's another PO that's open, or that's
Yeah.
already?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Mhm. Yvette, are you looking for what other money is there, or are you looking for us to make a recommendation to use
I'm
money from
looking.
there?
Did you find anything, Janet? Because you were just looking.
Oh, excuse me.
All right.
You want to share the screen once again?
I sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. So, you know, here, I don't think this guy's going to be 6. I'd have to go back into my notes when we were on the phone. I was on the phone with him like September. And I know it wasn't 6. So that we could probably skim a little bit off.
Okay.
Like 1,000 maybe?
I'm thinking 2, but let me look.
Well, you're never going to get a PlayStation 5, so you can take that right out of there. So.
Not.
No,
in-
he's spending after like this.
I know. I'm just kidding. I've been like sitting there at 3:30 in the afternoon, 3:40 in the afternoon trying. So.
Okay. Well, there's
And
this.
So that's the architecture.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that seems like the most, if once the POs for the other, or office equipment, but I mean, there's the 8,000.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's the 8,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, 25, line 25.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the most obvious place is to take it from after you see if you can take some from the verbal judo to get the remainder from that $63,000. That just makes sense, you know.
Yeah, I don't think we've paid. I think we paid something. I can check with Paul. We
Paid something for what?
to SMP. We haven't paid anything to SMP because the no, they changed it to SMP.
But even once we do, it's not going to be 63,000, right? It's going to
No.
be 18. So,
18,000.
We can re-encumber it and
Yeah.
say, look at this, cancel this PO, re-encumber it as this amount, now that we know what the amount is going to be with him, and then grab some of this money for
Yep.
this thing.
yep.
And
I
then
think,
usually we say everything else goes in materials, you know, because we know we're going to buy materials, and that's probably why we have all these kind of materials POs hanging around.
yeah. Okay, so should I make a motion then that we use the $8,000 that was originally going to go for the sterilization unit, $2,000 from the 1920 line for verbal judo, and then the balance from the architecture line to pay for air filtration systems to be put throughout the building. I don't, for an amount of, did you say it was 14,000?
It's
14,500.
air filtration units. I think it's like individual
Thank you.
units. Yeah.
Air filtration units. Thank you, Sohini. That's an air filtration units for $14,500.
Janet?
Yeah.
Will you like write out these numbers? Like, I don't know how specific to be in a motion to catch all these numbers and what lines they come from.
Well, these are just lines on the spreadsheet. I don't know that you have,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily,
I don't have a copy of the spreadsheet, so I have to,
She sent it.
okay.
so it was the $8,000 from the filtration unit. I'm sorry, not the filtration, the sterilization unit.
Yeah, that's 25, line
Line.
25.
No, it's this line, this is a budget line, 15-8504 for office equipment.
Yeah.
That's, you know, and it's staying in office equipment because you're just buying one kind of office equipment over another kind that we thought we might want, but we found something better. So
Again,
that's what we mean when we were talking about voting to move it to another line, because it's a different number.
so I really do need to reference that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you do, because you're voting to do something, and it's,
So,
even though this is staying in the same line, it's a different thing. You approved this PO back in June.
so again, I say I'm gonna have to write it out and send it to someone because I'm not sure I can document all
Okay,
as
that's
quickly
fine.
as you want me to
Yep.
right now.
Okay.
Okay.
This is also being recorded. So
know.
I'll put it on the trustee page tonight, and you can rewatch it if you want.
So
You know?
Yvette, my question for you though is that if we take, okay, so say we take the SMP line and we're going to, the SMP money, the 63,000, and we're going to devote 18,000 to them, or perhaps 20 because there might be
Yeah.
additional expenses, travel, etc. Right? So then that 43,000, we use 4 of that, or 2,500 of it, or whatever it would be, 4,500
45.
for the air filtration units. Then the rest of it, it just goes into materials. Is that correct?
So it goes into whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, Paul advises me, oh, we'll just put it in materials. But we, you know, we just need to know where we're putting it, and this was that money. You
Okay.
know, that's
Mhm.
Okay. So I guess my motion still stands that we use the 8,000 from the sterilization unit, 2,000 from the verbal judo money, and the balance from the architecture line to pay for the air filtration units at a cost of $14,500.
I second.
Thank you, Karen. Well, I will vote in favor of that. Janet,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Sohini,
Yes.
and Janice.
Yes.
And Janice, please feel free to write that up, and I will be happy to look at it and see if it rings a bell with me at that point. So,
Okay.
okay. All right. Thank you for bringing that forward, Yvette. I think that is completely the right thing for us to be doing. And yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
okay.
No,
I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say it'll make everybody feel more comfortable, both patrons and staff. And I think that's great.
Janice, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask about COVID-19 and the building continuing to be open. I know that you will let us know as soon as you can let us know if you feel like the building needs to be closed. I was just curious if there's anything out there right now that's indicating that.
For us in Merrimack, you know, I talked to them again today. Right now, we are not concerned that we need to step back to curbside only. We're not getting the kind of foot traffic that we anticipated where people were like crowding. I think everyone is being very conscientious and following the guidelines that we've set out. People are wearing masks. If they don't have their mask when they walk in, they will put it on. They will sanitize their hands. They're abiding by, you know, staying in the building for 2 hours and staying on the computers that reference, you know, helps them with, you know, 2 hours. So we're not experiencing problems that maybe some other communities are with patrons who really are not helping, not assisting us with, let's get through this. So no one's concerned at this point in terms of the staff that they're feeling like we need to step back because this is unruly. So far, there's been no infections among the staff. So everyone is still following, we're still following our own procedures with doing the health check questions in the morning or before you come into your shift and taking your temperature and obsessively washing hands and wearing masks. I think we're wearing masks even a lot more when we're just sitting in the same room, and Arf and I might be 6 feet apart and more than that, but we're still wearing them. So I am not concerned. I think the question is, are you concerned? What are you guys hearing in Merrimack? I'm watching the COVID rates and I watch the transfer rates. I know hearing from other libraries, a lot, Manchester stepping back, Hooksett stepping back. It seems to be where there are clusters. People are stepping back a lot, and where there are not things in place. People aren't adhering to a mask mandate, even though now the governor has one. So, what do you guys think?
I think we're fine. That's my opinion. I think we're fine. I think it's like people are they're coming in, they're going out, everybody's being respectful. If there were people that were being resistant, it's when people are taking off their masks in small social gatherings. It's when they're staying on, those sorts of things, when they're not maintaining social distance. But I mean, we're not having meetings in the clump room. We're not having people hanging out in the wool room, right? They're doing all the things that you can do safely to the best of our knowledge right now. I mean, certainly if we're having clusters and clumps, we would have to reevaluate it, but it sounds like things are going smoothly because of your planning and the respect that people are giving to the guidelines. So
I was just sort of doing a check-in for myself, and I knew that the library and the staff and patrons, are doing their best. I was curious because other libraries have stepped back. Thank you.
No, this is what I think.
to check. It's good. It's good to check. It's good to, stay in the loop to know what's going on. We hear schools are closing, there's staffing issues, there's definitely concerns. So it's good to stay up on top of things. Is there anything else from your director's report, Yvette, that you would like to address?
Let me see.
I have so many windows open. I'm like, close that one, close that one, close that one.
I have 2 monitors. Yeah.
This is Sean's work computer. I'm not opening anything. We bought it from home all the time now. So
Let's see. I don't know if you had any questions about anything. Max and Casey are going to be working with Parks and Rec and Merrimack TV to do some appearances there as this Kathy.
That's great.
Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, that's really exciting.
Yep.
And we've got the Granite Steps. I think I mentioned this before, but the Granite Step project, they are ready to install. And it's a little challenging because we're going to come and it's going to take this long. And then it's not 2 days, it's now 3 days. I can't have the road closed for 3 days. Yeah. So it's a little bit of coordinating between, this is what the police department says. It can happen between this time, and that's it. And go back to the vendor and say, this is what they say. And you need this permission. You need a permit to do it. So just kind of working through the little things. Yeah. So the bricks were delivered. I don't know how many times I've said that to different people, but the bricks for the memorial bricks for the Development Fund Committee were delivered, but now there's snow on the ground, so Jared can't put them in. It's not going to be put in until spring. So I don't know if there's anything else. Still working on passport agent certification. We're all kind of chipping away at that.
I have to say that this may be kind of late, but I have to tell you that I really appreciate your director reports. They're like a window into the month And you look at enough of them and you get a really interesting picture. So I don't remember when those started. I don't think, have you been doing them for like 7 years or 8 years?
I've been doing them since 2012. So
Well, I came on in 2013, but I don't remember seeing them, and I don't know what made you start to do it, but I just want to say I
I
appreciate
think they're longer now.
they are.
They're longer.
Yeah, they're longer.
Okay,
They're
and I
deep.
stopped reading them out loud cover to cover, so.
Oh, thank you. They're interesting, but that's all good. It's all good. We like the
But I
highlights.
can do voices.
Mhm. Okay.
Unless you have any questions, that's it. I don't have any
Yeah.
more on that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Yvette.
No problem.
Treasurer's report. Does anybody have any questions before I move on? Okay, treasurer's report.
Okay, I'm on the balance sheet. I'm under fines, DCU. And the beginning balance is $8,464.72. And we ended with $8,060.62. And then if you scroll down to the special DCU, our beginning balance was $16,271.48. And we ended the month with $15,897.61. That's it. Any questions?
Right, I was gonna say, any concerns, anything that,
Going once?
okay, going twice.
Gone.
Thank you, Janet. And I do want to just acknowledge that, Janet, I want to thank you publicly for your assistance with information on the Quimby Fund, because I probably would have been like, looks good to me. And so I really appreciate all of the, your attention to detail, and also that you knew the questions to ask and what did not seem right. So thank you very much for
No problem.
your attention to that. Okay, acceptance of minutes.
Oh, I have a little bit of an update for you guys. I had gotten a phone call from Edward Jones.
Right.
Right, okay. And I sent this there's someone who would like to make a donation to the library in the form of stocks. And I sent that to Deb and Janet, and didn't have a lot of information about it. But the person from Edward Jones called me today and gave me a little bit more information. So it's stock. It's definitely a stock donation, and it's someone who had donated to the Quimby Fund, but they're not intending that it goes to that. It's just they want to make a donation of stocks, and they want to know, do we have the means to accept that? It's Middlesex Water, and she left me a voice message, so I need to get back there tomorrow based on whatever you say. So we could sell the shares and take the cash. That's up to you guys, but a little bit more information. And they would like to get this done before the end of the year. And I don't know the amount.
I was gonna say,
What do
and
you need
so-
from us?
Yeah, what do you need from us?
Can I go back to her, or do one of you want to talk to her directly and cut me out of the thing? She wants to know, can we accept these shares as a donation? And then it's, where do they go?
I have a suggestion. Doesn't that sound like it should be like the development fund, and Bill Cummings would know how to do that sort of thing. Don't you think?
Well, the donations go to the trustees first, and you guys can determine, the same with the Quimby stuff, where does it go? But you need to accept it. They can't I mean, I think it's a little bit different, but we were contacted, the library was
Yeah.
contacted, so I go to
Yeah.
you.
But are there two questions? One, can we in fact accept it, and then accepting it?
Well, you don't have it yet, so you can't actually accept it, but it's,
Okay.
we're in negotiations, I guess, right now, but
Okay. So are you asking us, do we
So
want
Janet,
to?
we can accept it, correct?
There it is.
Yes, so
we
the
can
answer is
accept it.
yes, we can
Yes.
accept it.
We can accept it. It is something that we can take. Yep, we can take it and we can keep it, or it can go directly from the donor. The donor's stock can get transferred over to our Fidelity as stock. And then we can sell it if we want to. We can keep it there. We can sell it and take it back and put it into our special. We can do whatever we want with it. So yes, we have the mechanism to take it.
okay. What do you want me to find
And
out?
I
Or do
will
you
be
want to
happy.
talk to her?
I was gonna say I can call her.
I will send you the info.
Thank you.
I'm just so impressed you came up with that information in the space of seconds. How did you do that?
Well, it's not seconds. First of all, Yvette asked she told us that it is probably stock, and she
Okay.
said Middlesex Water. So I just went into the Fidelity and looked up Middlesex Water, and it's trading through them. So I'm like, yeah, we can take it.
Okay,
So,
okay.
Excellent.
and it's at $74 per share.
Wow. That's
Wow.
wonderful. Wow, that's lovely news. So I'm impressed with everybody's generosity.
Oh.
So that's amazing.
My
Janet,
only
go ahead.
question though is not depending on the amount of shares. If the total cost is over $5,000, we have to have a public hearing to accept it.
Yeah.
So if you find that out and they want to do it by the end of the year, could you let us know and we will
Absolutely.
expedite that? So,
Yeah.
okay. I think we can get a quorum for that. So,
Yeah.
Okay, the thing about a public hearing is it has
I
to
know.
be printed in the paper, so
How long does that take?
it's 7 days. It has to be printed 7 days before the meeting. And we can get it, I mean, I email the union leader and she says it costs $90 and it can go in Monday, but then we
Mhm.
count.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Janet and Yvette, and let us know what we should do. Okay, minutes, acceptance of minutes. I have a very whiny dog in the background, so you're gonna hear some, like, this is usually we're like sitting together and I'm reading at this point, so he's looking for that. So November 4th minutes are the first ones I have. The minutes of the 2021 budget meeting, number 1. Any comments or corrections for that?
No, I didn't see anything.
Would someone like to make a motion to accept those minutes?
Make a motion to accept the minutes for November 4th.
Thank you,
I
Janet.
second.
Karen seconds. Okay, I'll vote yes. Janet,
Yes.
Sohini,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Janice.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We're moving on to number 2, which was from November 9th. Any comments, corrections? Seeing no one saying anything, I'm going to make a motion. We approve those minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you, Janet. I'll vote yes. Janet,
Yes.
Sohini,
Yes.
Janice,
Yes.
and Karen.
Yes.
Thank you. And we have a meeting, budget public meeting number 3, November 10th. Comments, questions, corrections? I'll make a motion. We accept those minutes.
I second.
Thank you, Sohini. Janet,
Yes.
Janice,
Yes.
and Karen.
Yes.
Okay, next we
I
have our,
Yes, too.
oh, thank you, Sohini. Thank you. Our next we have November 17th, our minutes of
Oh,
public meeting,
I'm
our
sorry.
regular. Yes, Janet?
I pulled up the wrong minutes. I do have one issue with the November 9, 2020 budget meeting.
Okay.
Tom Boland, it's BOLAND. It's Boland.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay, so approved with corrections.
Yep.
Okay. Right, doesn't change the content.
Nope,
it-
it's
or
just the
things.
spelling.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm moving on to the November 17th, which was our normal public meeting.
So,
Any? Janice, did you want to say something?
yeah, the November action items, which is second to last page, the one that says, Chair to reach out to Matt Upton with questions about investing donations to Quimby Memorial Fund. I went back through my notes and that's what I wrote. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what was discussed. Because I know
Yeah,
that,
I don't have a recollection. I mean,
Okay.
I know I was in contact with him, but yeah, I'm not sure what.
there were contacts with just questions in general.
Yeah,
So,
probably. That's probably more accurate. Yep.
so then I will make a correction.
And it's not about the Quimby Memorial Fund. We were actually dealing with the Quimby Trust.
Okay.
The Quimby, is it Memorial Trust? Would that be rather than the fund?
Yeah.
'Cause there's, yeah.
Okay. So maybe that's more. Okay.
Yeah, and it was more about investing the money from that fund because we had some questions about who would invest it. So I think that's probably what the intention was.
So if I correct it to reach out to Matt Upton with questions.
I would just say questions regarding the Quimby Memorial or Quimby Trust. That's
Quimby
probably
Trust.
Quimby Trust.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so I will make a motion that we approve the minutes with that correction.
I second.
Thank you, Karen. I'll vote yes. Janet,
Yes.
Sohini,
Yes.
Janice,
Yes.
and Karen.
Yes.
So we're 500. And our final one that I have is the November 30th. The minutes where we discussed the clarification of the hiring process. Any comments or corrections, questions? Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve those minutes.
I second.
Thank you, Sohini. I'll vote yes. Janet,
Yes.
Sohini,
Yes.
Janice,
Yes.
and Karen.
Yes.
Okay, 500. Let's see what else is ahead of us. Let me find my agenda here. Are there any committee updates rather than just go through them? Is there anything for the different committees?
Well, the town center committee met and essentially, besides preparing a presentation for the town council, which they do on an annual basis as well, we were setting priorities on what the next project should be, and we were discussing them. And that was a pretty interesting process. I believe that we're going to recommend that that a piece of trail be developed off of Twin Bridges Road, which is up at the end of the shopping center, where the exercise place on DW Highway. Where Tractor Supply is, but on the other side and all the way in the back, there's a whole network of trails in there, but there's no connecting trail, and it's not a super big project, and it would be, if it's chosen, then that would happen pretty quickly, and we'd have a new area open to people who hike and walk and so on. So it really doesn't have too much to do with the library, but that was the main thrust of and they were asking the street coming down from the high school, Woodbury.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is going to get sidewalks, but
Great.
it's probably won't be for another year or so, but they are going to put sidewalks in.
Great. Thank you, Karen.
The friends,
Go ahead.
the friends met and they made $415 from the wreath auction.
Oh.
If you all haven't seen, the banners have arrived and are out on the building. And they do not have a meeting in December. Their next meeting is January 25th at 7 p.m. via Zoom.
Thank you. The Building Exploratory Committee has not met. Town Center, I'm sorry, Merrimack Public Library Development Fund Committee has not met.
Okay.
So,
Yvette.
Just to
Oh,
add
sorry,
something to the Friends report, I'm working with John Walsh, who usually purchases the leftovers from the book sale. You know, we talked at the Friends meeting. I don't remember who was this past meeting or the meeting before.
Yep. Right.
About, you know, the storage area in the O'Leary where we normally store the book sale books is totally full. And we're still weeding, and the Friends said, yes, we could sell them to John. And we're coordinating for him to come and bring a van to load up
Cool.
the van from the storage center. He would do his usual, and he usually pays $100 for the remainders, and that would go to the Friends, that $100. So it's probably going to be in January, just because the holidays are coming upon us, and he said January was better for him. I don't have a date, but I'll let you know. We will do this project when the library is closed between 2 and 3, and just kind of have a chain of people passing books up the stairs. Just to let you know.
great. Thank you.
Yep.
Let's see, the Library Board of Trustee committee updates. Personnel Committee, you sent us the evaluation. Do you have anything else for us? No? Okay. Building maintenance. Do you have anything? Finance? Just the stuff that we've reported with the Quimby stuff. I will just say, so we had talked about meeting in January. I think that it would be great if everybody could possibly look at their calendars. We don't need to pick a date today. I know there's a lot going on in the next few weeks, so it might be hard to even think ahead to 2021. But perhaps we could find a Saturday morning and make a decision about, meeting. I guess it would be via Zoom at that point. I'm not really sure, but it would be an opportunity to go over some of our concerns about the evaluation. It would be great if we saw maybe a couple of other sample evaluations too, just to kind of see what you guys came up with and what other local libraries are doing. So
I could scan. I have an old Goffstown and old Bedford, things
okay.
like that. And what I did is I looked at all of them.
Yeah.
Then put this together. But I could probably scan in the some of the examples.
Okay.
And send them off.
All right. Do you know how old they are? Are they
They're between 5-10 years, something like that.
really?
5
okay.
or 10.
Maybe there's some, I don't know if there's
Maybe
something.
there is something more current, but I
Yeah,
just had them, so I used it. Yeah, Janice?
Well, can we approach other libraries?
Like the trustees to ask them for stuff?
Well, if we're going to get more up-to-date evaluations, how would we go about doing that?
Yeah, reach out to another trustee and ask them if they had.
So that would be okay to do.
For us to reach
Milfords
out.
and Goffstowns.
Do you have what?
I have Milfords and Goffstowns. I can send them.
Yeah. I mean, I think that trustee to trustee would be just like if you were at the New Hampshire Library Trustees Association and we're talking about something like this. It's not like a specific question. It's more like a general, we're all in this together trying to learn from them too. We're not,
Yeah, why reinvent the wheel?
Right. A lot of stuff you can find on the internet too, right? So go ahead, Janice.
Well, I guess one comment I would make that even though the ones we looked at were from 5 to 10 years ago, the overall theme that I saw was there's some sort of scale in all of them. I haven't come across one that doesn't have that. So if anybody has any, some kind of scale, if anybody has any thoughts or connections to finding one without a scale, I'm happy to hear that. This each seemed like this some portion has a scale of some sort.
So,
Yeah,
so here it is, like recent, all the HR, so it's like all these programs and all most of the HR departments use all over across industries, which is called, like, it comes under different names, and each product is sold by a different vendor.
Yeah.
So you install that into your whole program and the whole company gets into it. It's either named under like a success factor or this factor or, you know, something like that, or it's in a SAP program thing and it gets integrated into the main program and they go on giving you feedback, or you just do your own assessment and place it on there. So actually, if those are from those programs, they'll all look similar. And they will have that scale rating because it's you place one scale, like how you do your self-assessment and then how your supervisor does a self-assessment.
Yeah.
So the assessment for you. And then if it is a bigger company, it goes on to like a peer assessment, and then it goes to like a whole scale all-round assessment from other managers also, like if you work with them. So it's all scale-based. So that's how the latest programs are all developed.
And I'm not saying there isn't, like, certainly almost all of them had like a comment section or a section for the employee to evaluate themselves.
Yeah.
I know we were trying to sort of get away from the scale, but I'm not sure there's an example of that out there.
No, it's right now it's all scale-based, most of the programs, because in the last 4 or 5 years, everything has changed too.
I mean, some have more narrative, but there's always a combination.
It will have that comment section, which is your narrative. So at the beginning of the fiscal year, you put your goal, and that goal is approved by your immediate supervisor.
Mhm.
So it goes up, and then at the end of the year, they see whether you have achieved those goals, and there is an extra comment section, whether you have done something extra. And then you put in your own feedback assessment, your self-assessment, and then your manager gives the assessment, and your peers send some of the assessments, and then they take the overall. So it depends on the structure of how each company works.
well, I think it'll be good to just, yeah, so that's like good to know that that's sort of the trend of where it's going, but we can also just look at some of the other ones and see, just to inform our discussion when we meet, right? So the more information we have, the better equipped we are to make good decisions, because I think we did have some real concerns, not about the evaluation itself and the whole process, that we want to make sure we address before we are in evaluation mode. So so we'll just look at it. So you know, if people could just keep in mind that maybe we would want to meet on some January Saturday, some snowy Saturday when we're all at home on our Zoom, you know, and I'll just send out a little questionnaire and we'll try to take care of scheduling that for our little mini half-year retreat, and we can look at the bylaws, the evaluation, and our goals from our September retreat, which would normally have been like a May, right? So we normally would have been like a half year. Janice, did you want to say something?
I was just wondering if there are any other items that people might want to discuss, and can they just send them to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Always. Yeah,
The
totally.
investment policy.
Yep, the investment policy, right? So things that have like sort of fallen through the cracks because we haven't been meeting regularly, we didn't have the regular agenda. So if there's something like that, that's more like trustee administration, which is kind of, you know, I think that we've done a really good job this year on focusing on the library during our meetings, our monthly meetings, right? And so we do need to do some of that trustee background stuff too. So
Will it be a trustee retreat?
well, Yvette would, well, I guess we can talk about that, you know, if we want Yvette's feedback on the evaluation. If we think, Yvette, take that Saturday off. You don't need to talk to us.
All
We
of my
can,
Saturdays are booked.
you know, I guess it's kind of up in the air. We can, why don't we, I'll send out an email just asking people what their thoughts are, what dates might work for you, and kind of sort of gather that sort of administrative information. We don't need to discuss it now. It's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm sure people can't even look ahead to January. This is one of our longest meetings as of late, but we had that meeting with Jason, so I'm gonna say that's why. So
Jason.
it's Jason. So yeah, no, I think, you know what, Janice, this is like sort of a, we're just having this get together in January, and we'll figure out what it's going to look like and how we can best accomplish our purposes for that meeting. So I'll send out an email that so far these are the things I think we're going to cover. asking people for a couple of dates that might work for you, and we'll try to figure out something. Okay. Is there any, do we need to review the December action items? I think that there were some things left over that Yvette was going to get back to us about the masks. Yvette, a lot of it is on you. Yvette is going to take care of the POs to pay for the shelving project. Let's see, I'm going to look into the trustee alternate application process and run the process by you all to see if there's any steps missing. And I'll also send you the information from the gentleman who expressed an interest. Let's see, Janet was going to contact Edward Jones about the donation of stocks. Yvette is also going to fix the finagle, no, is going to, what's the right word? Manage the POs to pay for the air filtration units. And then we will all work together to schedule a trustee mini retreat in January. Am I missing anything?
I'm just going to make a comment. I found the alternate trustee document from 2018.
Okay.
I can send it to you, and actually I can send it to the board just so
Okay, great.
I can show you what I have.
So
Yes, so if I understand Jason will be here again on the next meeting. So can we just start like half an hour early so we are not like late till night?
That would be work for me.
It would work for me.
Yeah, me too.
For me too. But I don't know if Yvette is.
Oh, I'm just here.
Because
So,
if we can, then it's not so late. Then it's
so could we even say 6, or do you think 6:30 is better?
6:30. Okay, I think half an hour.
6:30. Okay.
So I will see if he's available.
Yeah.
I mean, even so, if he came in at
Right.
7, you guys could
Right.
do
We
the-
can start our meeting
Right,
at 6:30 and then do that. So Sohini, thank you. That is a wonderful suggestion. So
Are you saying 6:30 to start?
yes, let's say 6:30.
I don't think we'd have as much things as we had tonight. We had 3 policies, we had Jason, we had other appointments. We had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, it was a lot, but we did it. Okay.
And just maybe as a reminder, I don't have the schedule for the budget meetings. They usually happen in January. In the past, we've gone Martin Luther King Day, and it's you know, town department heads are there when Eileen requests us. So, but that's going to be something coming, and it will
Okay.
probably be an evening, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, town council meeting, that kind of thing. So
Great. Thanks, Yvette.
when I have it, you guys have it. So
Okay. So, yeah, we'll just say that the upcoming events are the Library Board of Trustees on January 19th, potentially at 6:30. The Friends of the Library Board meeting, January 25th. We have no date for the next MPL Development Fund Committee meeting, but that's all that's on our agenda as of right now, other than having a happy and healthy holidays. So I wish you all the very best in as 2020 wraps up, and may we all have a wonderful 2021. So that's all we can wish for. So Janet, did you have something else for us?
I do. Yvette, when are the annual report information due?
it's due to Kristen on the 15th.
Okay.
Okay. I have
So-
one more thing too. Don't we need to have that emergency meeting for the Edward Jones thing?
Yep, Janet will let us know
Yeah.
if she can,
I'll call
like, if we
tomorrow.
can get that done. Yep.
Yep.
So when she reaches out, so maybe we'll see each other again before the end of the year. So, but I don't think we can have enough happy 2021 wishes. So, okay, Janice,
Hold on.
Janet, go ahead.
Hi,
Janice,
All right,
Janice, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted for us to remember, I know we are giving gift certificates to the staff, but we certainly wish them well in the holidays and thank them for their hard work.
Excellent. Thank you, Janice. I agree. And actually that ties into what my next comment was going to be. Are we signing anything, Karen? You were getting thank yous or
I
cards?
I was getting the anniversary things, and I signed the card for the 5-year anniversary from the Library Board of Trustees.
No. I meant the gift cards for,
I haven't heard anything. I don't know. I guess I should get the gift. I mean, I can get the gift cards. I just don't know what to get.
Oh, we're waiting for a
Me.
list of what they would prefer.
I thought I sent that.
yeah.
Did I
Did
not
you?
send it?
No,
I
You
don't.
did.
I'll resend it.
no.
I'll resend. It's fine.
Did you have it, Janet?
I did. I just didn't have a well, I only had to get the $10. I just needed the number. But I'm pretty
$10
sure
per
yeah,
piece.
because it was like so many Amazon and so
Yep.
many Barnes and Noble and yeah.
Yep.
Well, I can do that. Just get me the list and I could do it.
I'll resend.
And then I
Um,
guess the question is, do you want like little cards or something to go in with them that say something like, or get like a Christmas card and then stuff them and sign them? Is that what you're asking, Janet?
yes.
That's what she's asking.
So there's
Um,
20 employees.
I have Christmas cards that came to me from National Wildlife Federation and
what?
Audubon Society.
You know what, Karen, I was just at Barnes and Noble and they are having like a 30% off a box of
30% off?
cards. And I
Okay.
can, just for the box cards, I'll pick up a box of 20 cards. And if Yvette wants to give me the list of staff, I mean, I think I know most of them, but once you get everything together, I don't mind just sitting down with the box of cards because I'm not doing Christmas cards this year. So I will do the library Christmas cards. So that will be
And I, on the
my.
other hand, have decided to do Christmas cards. As a matter of fact, the table where you can't see is all full of cards and envelopes. That would be great for me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so what I will do is I will go out and get the certificates, the cards, the gift
Okay.
card. And then I will bring them to Yvette.
Sure. And then Janet, you have yours too. And then Yvette, just let me know when you get them all and I'll come down, swoop in, get them all, write them up and bring them back. So,
Okay.
and that's done.
Plan.
Does that sound like a good idea? Okay. All right.
I'm sorry, I guess I dropped the
Okay.
ball. I have no idea.
No worries. No
Okay.
worries.
Totally lost.
We're all doing the best we can, Karen. No worries. So, okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Janice and Janet, for bringing that up. Is there anything else?
Yeah.
You're not where you belong, Jen.
No, if I tell him it's time to snuggle, he'll go get a pillow and then come back with it like he knows. So, yes. Okay. Okay. Well,
I make a motion
I'll-
to adjourn.
thank you. I can't even think anymore.
10:10.
At 10:10. So all in favor, let's just give a hand raise and say aye. Aye. Awesome. Thank you everybody for your 3 hours of dedication and we appreciate it. Thanks Yvette for everything. Okay.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Ooh, what's up? What are you doing? You being so silly?